The story begins with the human army successfully binding the mightiest dragon of this fantasy world in chains. Their so-called hero mercilessly drives his blade through the dragon's heart. The dragon doesn't understand why the humans are trying to subdue him. After all, he remembers being their ally. He refrains from attacking, still considering them friends, and only asks to be spared from such cruel treatment. The lonely dragon, having existed for so long, no longer desires to fight these insignificant creatures. He offers little resistance and accepts his fate. As he crumbles away, he breaks his shackles and looks up at the sky, begging the gods for eternal peace for his soul. However, the gods seem to have other plans. Instead of sending the dragon to the underworld, they place his soul in the cycle of life and death, reincarnating him as a newborn human baby. When the dragon first opens his eyes, he finds himself gazing at an ordinary man and woman. The woman's excited to see her baby's eyes open, and she named him Dolan. She introduces herself as his mother and the man beside her as his father. She also mentions that Dolan has an older brother. Judging by their joyful faces, Dolan assumes he's been reborn into a happy family. As time passes, Dolan grows into a tall young swordsman who enjoys the simple pleasures of his village life. One day, as he's admiring the sunset, a girl named Eri runs up to him. Dolan glances at her and then at the calm village behind her, feeling a deep sense of peace and contentment. Eri notices his subtle smile and asks if something's bothering him. He assures her everything's fine, and together they head back to the village. I think Dolan is just silently being thankful to the gods for gifting him with this peaceful life instead of giving him the endless sleep he once sought. He currently lives in a small village named Verun, which is situated on the north border of the continental kingdom of Arcrest. After his death as a dragon, he was born here as a human and has been spending his days here ever since. The only industry here is agriculture, so Dolan too is an agriculturist. Farmer. Every day he wakes up by the ray of sunlight coming through the blinds and then goes out into the fields to work on his farm. This is the only way to earn his daily bread, and he doesn't complain because he gets plenty of water and food to eat this way. After having lunch alone with some bread and soup, Dolan heads out again in the village. Just like every other anime, if you are 15 years old, you are considered an adult, but are you well? But anyway, Dolan turned 15 a year ago, so he left his home to live on his own as an adult, although he stays in the same village. He goes to the nearby forest with his older brother and uses his trusty fishing rod to catch some fish. Dolan's brother reminds him that he will have to go investigate the swamp near their village tomorrow. Dolan explains why there is even a need to investigate the swamp, telling us that since last month the lizards from that swamp have disappeared, and that might change the entire ecosystem around it. Dolan's brother doesn't want Dolan to go to such a dangerous place alone, as it was supposed to be Garrison's job originally. Dolan doesn't want to step back from his responsibilities, and the only reason he is helping the elders is because the captain and the others are busy guarding the village. Dolan's brother offers to go with him as he cares for his brother's safety, but Dolan is a grown man at the age of 16 and doesn't want to cause his older brother any trouble. He promises his brother that he will be just fine, telling him not to worry, as he will be only going to the swamp to check out the place and nothing else. He manages to catch loads of big fish and brings back a whole bucket of them. On his way back, he meets up with his two friends Malida and Albert, who become amazed to see the sheer numbers of fish he has caught all by himself. Malida doesn't get why Dolan went out fishing instead of preparing for the investigation. In reply, Dolan claims that he has been preparing little by little for the past several days, and assures her that he will be fine. He also thanks her for helping him by persuading the village chief and the other elders into letting him take this job. Malida thanks Dolan back, saying that he is the one who has always been helping her with her and Albert's training. Speaking of which, Dolan asks both Malida and Albert if they are heading out soon. Malida replies in the affirmative, informing Dolan that they have a meeting about the next training session for the little ones soon and will have to leave the village for it. But Albert tells Dolan to not worry about it and advises him to prioritize his investigation. Dolan takes his leave from his friends and heads back home. He guts a fish and heavily seasons it with salt. While preparing the fish, he tells us about the monsters residing around this village. They are called the bandits, and because this is a far-side village, there aren't enough soldiers around to give protection to the villagers. So the villagers are more or less expected to help each other in protecting themselves. Dolan prepares all of the fish he captured and lets them dry out in the sun. The young girl from earlier Eri comes at his front door, reminding him that today is Dolan's magic practice day. Dolan asks Eri if she came here only to get him, and she gives the excuse that she was just passing by. Anyway, Dolan heads outside and goes to Grandma Lady Meguru's house to train in front of Lady Meguru and Eri. He demonstrates how magic exists in this world. He recites a basic magic spell by saying the phrase "Laws of Power, hear my voice, become an arrow and pierce my foe." Right after he shouts energy bolts, which literally releases an energy bolt that blasts the dummy into bits. Lady Meguru is impressed at Dolan's offensive magic, as she has always been, and commends the boy for understanding the fundamentals well. Dolan gives all the credit to the old lady, telling her that he is only so good thanks to her teachings. Now that his offensive magic training has come to an end, Lady Meguru decides to make him practice magical medicines, which he is apparently worst at. After spending a long time studying and practicing magical medicines, Dolan meets an oddly attractive woman in the evening. The village chief introduces the woman as Christina, a young noble lady who will be staying at their village for the next couple of days. Dolan shakes hands with Christina and immediately realizes that she is someone very strong and skilled. Dolan goes to his parents' house to have dinner with them, and there it is revealed that he has a younger brother named Marco. Dolan's dad suggests Dolan get a wife since he has been pretty lonely lately. Dolan expresses his desire to be single a little longer, and his dad respects it and telling him that he is free to make his own decisions as he is an adult now. Marco mentions the swamp investigation, which worries Papa and Mama, and Dolan ensures all of them that everything will be fine and he will return safely with a great story to tell them. The next morning, the captain of the village offers to accompany Dolan, but Malida stops him from doing so because he has other duties to fulfill. The nun of the village, Letitia, gives Dolan a simple goddess's blessing. Lady Meguru comes there, informing him that he might end up running into trouble, as that is what her fortune-telling showed her, so she tells him to be careful out there. Just before Dolan is about to leave, Eri gives him a lunchbox, telling him to eat it on the road. He thanks everyone for being so wholesome and then leaves for the journey. He walks the entire way, stopping several times to drink and rest. He explains to us why the disappearance of the lizards affects his village. Apparently, the lizards in the swamp occasionally interacted with the village, but when they disappeared it just felt odd to Dolan. So the lizard's disappearance actually affected Dolan and not the village, and that is the reason why he himself volunteered to investigate what happened. He reaches the swamp not knowing what he might discover there, and places his hand on the ground, instantly figuring out why the lizards are no longer living here. According to his analysis, the Earth's elemental power has gotten too strong and the water's elemental power has weakened, and that is why the lizards have moved away. Dolan remembers the fortune-telling of Lady Meguru, and knowing that her foretelling is almost never wrong. He suspects that there's something that has deliberately caused the change of the elemental power levels. At that moment, he senses a strong presence nearby and brings out his sword to fight it. Under the current conditions, only strong monsters can reside here, so Dolan can only imagine how strong this unseen monster is. The monster is a Lamia, a species that looks half human, half snake. The Lamia seems to not have any battle experience at all, so she just moves her hands around, making her look like a total clown. Before Dolan can misunderstand and attack her, she makes it clear to him that she doesn't want to fight him. At that moment, a giant earth elemental monster emerges behind them and attacks the Lamia. Dolan reacts quickly and cuts the hand of the earth elemental. He hides behind a giant mushroom with the Lamia and tells her that the only reason the elemental has emerged is the same reason the lizards also left this place: the change in the elemental power levels. In any case, Dolan will have to deal with the monster, but first he introduces himself to the Lamia, learning that her name is Celina. Celina has the ability to use magic, so Dolan suggests she fight the elemental alongside him. She hesitates to work together with a human she is just met, but Dolan's aura is just too great for him to refuse. So she ends up joining him in his fight and helps him subdue the elemental. Dolan uses his sword to deflect any attacks coming towards Celina, and Celina casts a giant magic spell, summoning a gigantic snake that holds down the elemental. This buys Dolan enough time to close the gap between him and the elemental. With swift speed, he leaps towards the elemental and imbues his sword with draconic magic, cutting the monster down perfectly. The sand reforms back with earth, and some gets splashed at Celina, giving the viewers quite the fan service. Moving along, Dolan becomes properly acquainted with Celina this time and camps nearby with her at night. Celina is happy to see that there is a human who isn't afraid of her appearance. Dolan, being Earth's most feared dragon, once met much more stranger creatures, and that explains why he isn't scared of anything at all. Anyway, Celina explains that the only reason she came to the swamp was to find a husband for herself as she became an adult after turning 17. Speaking of which, Lamias need strong men as their husbands because the regular ones die from their poison. She keeps giving subtle hints to Dolan that they should get married and have babies, but Dolan shows no interest at all, being the Chad he is. He proceeds to make the stew following his mom's recipe and serves it to Celina, who is overwhelmed by the flavor of this delicacy. Seeing Dolan praise his mom, Celina asks him if he loves his family a lot. Dolan agrees and pities the lonely dragon he once was. The next morning he takes his leave, wishing Celina the best of luck on finding a partner. He gives her some of his life energy as a parting gift, but it turns out to be too strong for her as his life energy is still of a dragon. As the sun rises, he once again admires its beauty for a second and parts his ways with Celina, telling her to visit his home anytime once she found a husband, and the two parted ways, heading off in separate directions. Two guys are walking down the road when a traveling Celina runs into them and unintentionally scares them off. She realizes that the bottom part of her body is going to be a problem getting herself a good-looking, strong husband. Meanwhile, Dolan is back home again, making magic potions with Eri and Grandma Meguru. Lady Meguru states that unlike medicinal herbs, magicians' herbs are made with ingredients that have magical powers in them, which also makes it hardest to prepare. Lady Meguru says making potions is apparently so complex that even the slightest difference in the amount of magic can be fatal. It's as if her words have the instant jinx power, because at that very moment Dolan messes up his potion-making process, reducing all of the ingredients to nothing. Grandma Meguru scolds Dolan, telling him to be more delicate with his work. He becomes disappointed at himself, which little Eri doesn't like because she likes him smiling. So she encourages him, telling him that he has a good eye for medicinal herbs and he is a good person who always looks after the children. She also adds how cool she finds him as a person and ends her much-needed compliments there. Grandma Meguru understands the inner feeling of the little girl, but the thick-headed protagonist doesn't get it and praises Eri back, stating that she is the best suited for synthesizing potions, not him. Grandma Meguru also agrees and decides to let Eri off for the day. As Eri leaves, Dolan explains to us why he is so bad at this stuff. Since he has been a dragon for eternity, he has never needed medicine. Hence has no experience in this field. Grandma Meguru tells Dolan to take it easy, telling him that there are no shortcuts when learning everything in a proper manner, and continues to give him lessons teaching how to make antidotes from poison next. After the lessons, Dolan joins Eri's family for lunch, and before they start to eat, Eri's family prays to Myril, whom the goddess knows as the Mother of Earth. Dolan looks at Myril's statue and reflects on how long it has been since he has met her, hinting that she might appear soon in this story. After having lunch, he runs back to the village as he is about to run late for his regular training. On his way, he runs into a cow lady with big jugs in her hand. That is who suspiciously offers him to drink some freshly minted milk. Apparently this weird milk provides the villagers with her own milk, and allegedly it tastes extremely delightful, but Dolan has his ideals and values, vowing to only drink his waifu's milk, but a man can only resist himself for so long. He decides to have just one sip but ends up gulping down all of the milk at one go, and once again makes a run for it, passing by Christina, whom he doesn't even notice. At the training grounds, Albert is teaching the kids how to use a spear and gives them a break time when Dolan arrives. But instead of taking a break, the kids rush to Dolan to show him the spear they've got, indicating how much kids are fond of this million-year-old man. Suddenly, Dolan senses a demon's presence in the nearby forest and decides to check it out alone later at night when no one else is there. He goes inside the forest, wondering why a demon whose aura makes them incompatible to live in this type of environment has chosen to come here. Using his cheating skills, Dolan pinpoints the location of the demon and finds them behind the bushes taking a private time shower. That demon is none other than Celina the Lamia, and Dolan casually greets her, as if she is totally in the mood to have a conversation right now. Celina rightfully freaks out seeing Dolan and accidentally steps on the hot steaming water pot. But before the flaming hot water can splash on her, the Riz Lord saves the day by jumping on top of her. She begs him not to look, but he tells her how pretty she looks anyway. Out of embarrassment, Celina closes her eyes, asking Dolan to at least show her some respect, and close his as well, but he refuses to as he wants to continue enjoying her beauty. She begs him to show some restraint, but the literal savage dragon believes, and I quote, "It is tantamount to a creature's instinct to seek out attractive hot beings. Yeah, bro has crossed the limit now," so Celina justifiably leaves a big red hand mark on the right side of his face, making him understand that he should show more respect to a woman. Anyway, they moved past that, and Celina explains why she is here instead of going the opposite direction, since all humans are scared of her and will likely try to kill her. She came to the conclusion that it is much better for her to choose Dolan as her potential partner. And that is why she did a full 180-degree and came here. Dolan doesn't realize that Celina wants to have his baby, and he ends up asking her to live in his village, telling her that this village people are friendly towards demi-humans and demons, using the cow lady as an example. Yeah, but the cow lady literally pays with her body to continue coexisting with them. But whatever, Dolan convinces Celina to move to his village, further adding that his life would become much more enjoyable if she stayed with him, and unintentionally flirts with her quite a lot. They shake hands to seal the deal, and just like last time, Dolan gives Celina some of his life energy, which she finds quite satisfying judging by her expressions. Now that she has agreed to stay in the village, Dolan devises a plan on how to win over the villagers, as he cannot just bring her there out of nowhere. After Celina drops the next batch of games for the villagers, they call their captain to see it. He doesn't seem pleased about this, since they do not know who keeps bringing them meat. Inspecting the tracks, Malida acknowledges that it doesn't look entirely like a snake's track. Just then, someone reminds them of the shadow of half-human which they saw the night before. Hearing this, Captain Dolan immediately figures out that it is a Lamia. He believes they are a very dangerous species, but wonders why this one keeps leaving its prey behind. Furthermore, he wonders what the motive of the Lamia could be. Shortly after, a meeting of the elders of the village is called to deliberate on the matter. As much as they all believe that the Lamia kind is evil, they still can't figure out why this beast keeps bringing them prey every day. In the midst of their deliberation, Malida stupidly comments on how delicious the fish brought by the Lamia the day before tasted. Immediately she says this, he gets cautioned by Captain Dolan. Just then he suggests that they put together a strike team to hunt down the Lamia. However, since they didn't have many men in the village, the elders think this is a bad idea. Instead, they suggest asking for more men from the capital and are prepared to send out a messenger immediately. Meanwhile, Dolan wonders what they could possibly be talking about. He is worried that there is a huge hatred between humans and demons, which makes it hard for them to see eye to eye. However, he hopes that his plan with Celina will work out. On the other hand, while the elders deliberate, the fortune-teller Grandma Meguru reminds them that the Lamia might not be such a threat like they think, seeing as it has been sending them gifts. She urges them to wait for the results of her fortune-telling before concluding. At that moment, Eri arrives with the results and hands them to Grandma Meguru. After examining it, she reveals that the Lamia has good omen and urges them to be patient in trying to figure out what its main purpose is. Hearing this, Dolan happily runs into the woods to inform Celina about this. Getting to her, he informs her about going ahead with the final phase of their plan, since hostility from the villagers is now out of it. She seems pleased with it and appreciates the help Dolan has rendered with coming up with the plan so far. However, he states that he is only doing all these for her. With one final step to go, he breaks down the last phase of the plan to her. The next morning, Captain Dolan gathers the men and soldiers of the village and informs them about the sighting of the Lamia. He charges them to defend the village and suggests conducting some outdoor drills to make them stronger. While he talks, his son Toro admires how cool he looks and cannot hold back his pride. On the other hand, Dolan thinks this gathering would help the final phase of the plan and eventually lead to Celina being accepted into the village. Amidst this, Celina watches from a distance. She is scared to her bones about this and reminds herself of the plan Dolan had explained to her the night before. Apparently, the plan involved her saving him from a herd of piercing rabbits which inhabit the venue they intend to use for the outdoor drill. Dolan plans to run into the habitat of the herd while Celina saves his sorry ass. He believes doing this would make them see her as a good person. Having remembered the plan, Celina nervously waits for the signal. In a shocking turn of events, while Captain Dolan addresses them, a soldier comes running from within the woods. Seeing him, they immediately assume that he is being chased by the Lamia. Hearing this, Dolan is worried since he hasn't given Celina the signal yet. Also, Celina is shocked to hear about the possibility of a Lamia chasing the soldier, since she hadn't left the spot she was hiding in since. Just then, the soldier reveals that it wasn't a Lamia but an armored bear. At that moment, a large armored bear with red eyes appeared behind him. Seeing it, Captain Balin orders all the soldiers to retreat. While they run away, his son Toro slips, serving himself on a platter for the bear. Seeing this young breakfast, the bear approaches him and is about to slice him up when Dolan runs towards the boy. At that same time, Celina does the same and the two are able to save the boy, but Celina gets injured by the bear. Just then, Celina uses a special power of the Lamia called Evil Eyes to command the bear to go back into the forest. When she does this, everyone is shocked to their bones. Even though she was bleeding, she is bothered about the young boy's well-being and seeks to know if he is hurt. Meanwhile, she was bleeding so much, ignoring that fact. Captain Balin orders Toro and Dolan to get away from her. Although Toro obeyed his father's orders, but Dolan refuses. He reminds the captain that the Lamia had just saved his son's life, but the bald-headed idiot sticks to his belief that Lamia is dangerous. At this point, Dolan threatens not to move away from the Lamia. This forces the captain to begin asking her some questions. After answering them, she begs them to let her stay in the village and reveals that her father is human like them and promising not to harm them. To finalize his decision, Captain Balin seeks Letitia's advice, and she reveals that Celina is indeed good and means no harm. Also, she notices that Celina had kept her eyes closed throughout so that they would not be affected by the evil eyes. Walking up to her, she asks her to open her eyes and welcomes her into the village. Hearing this, Celina is pleased and passes out immediately. When she wakes up, she is led to her new house. Their Captain Balin had provided her with some stuffed toys to make her comfortable. Seeing this, she is so pleased at how it looks. Also, Captain Balin apologizes for doubting her earlier and thanks her for saving his son from the bear. Just then, they all agreed to get to know more about their specific race and live in harmony. Meanwhile, acting like they do not know each other, Dolan and Celina reintroduce themselves in front of everyone. Celina gets along fine with everyone in the village, which puts Dolan at ease as his plan has worked perfectly. He looks up in the sky and gives the entire credit of this fateful encounter to Myril, leaving the viewers wondering who his mysterious goddess friend is. Dolan decides to visit his old friend and releases a large amount of his sealed aura to attain the ability to fly. He then launches himself into the sky and reaches the realm of the gods in his 12-pack dragon form. The goddess Myril welcomes her old friend to her palace, asking him what made him visit her after such a long time. She inquires about his new human life in the living world, teasing him for choosing a peaceful life when he can use his powers to literally change the course of the entire world. After joking around for a while, Dolan gets to the point, thanking Myril for considering Celina as a good person, revealing that Myril greatly influenced Sister Letitia's judgment, which helped Celina gain everyone's trust. Anyway, Dolan asks Myril how she found out that he had reincarnated as a human. Yeah, she's a god, so she can do anything and everything with her infinite powers, but bro is too dumb to understand that, so she gives him the simple answer, saying she had felt his spirit in the prayers of the people. His prayer was filled with joys of life, which caught Myril's attention, leading to her discovering that her old friend had reincarnated as a human. Myril mentions how gloomy Dolan used to be back when he was still a dragon, and is now glad to see he has found a place where he can easily fit in. Speaking of the past, Dolan recalls his dying moment when the hero's sword pierced his heart. He claims that he didn't feel any pain nor any despair of death. He only sensed his weary eternal life coming to an end. But now, as a human, he has found a sense of excitement again. Although humans' lives are short, their lives are extremely beautiful. Whereas a dragon's long-lasting eternal life inside a cave is pretty dull. Having lived for almost 20 years with humans, Dolan's life is dazzling as well, and Myril, the goddess, is happy to hear that, since recently she has started to feel and sense the joy of Dolan's soul and heart, and the same goes for the Lamia girl as well, who is now happy, as she too can now coexist with the apex predators. Dolan suddenly wakes up, revealing to us that he was just dreaming about visiting Myril, the goddess, which explains a lot because he isn't supposed to transform into a dragon. But was this entire encounter completely fake and bogus? Maybe not. Anyway, Celina the Lamia breaks into Dolan's room, waking him up from his sleep abruptly. She excitedly tells him that today is the promised day, but he doesn't care. He goes back to what she did before this. telling her strictly to knock before barging into someone's room. Celina understands her mistake and apologizes to Dolan for being too casual with him. Dolan asks Celina to explain what she means when she says today is the promised day, and in reply, Celina once again reminds the loser with dementia that he promised to plant some potatoes on the field with Christina today. On the other side, in a more 1800s-looking city, a young man is seen selling the latest newspaper, where news about a series of women and young girls going missing has been reported several times. At a distant castle, a woman knocks on the blonde door, and the angel statue placed on the door opens her eyes, welcoming the woman to the blonde's private chambers. The blonde elven woman is seen having many pixies or fairies as her assistant, but that's not important. The woman has brought some mail addressed to the dean and hands it to the pixies, who then hands it to the dean, who is an elven blondie. Apparently the letter is from Christina, who in the letter has shared her experiences spending her days living in the countryside village. According to Christina's report, combat training at the village is practiced on a daily basis. Since the villagers don't have any soldiers from the capital guarding their homes during emergencies, they are left with no other choice but to protect themselves by learning how to fight. The elven blonde continues to read the letter where Christina narrates specifically about the day when she herself participated in a combat training session and fought against Malida. Malida took a harmless duel too seriously and went into full power mode. However, she still failed to land a single hit on Christina, who had a much superior fighting technique, and in the end, Christina embarrassed Malida, knocking her sword away. Christina impressed the crowd with her tremendous swordsmanship, but she didn't come here to boast about her skills. Her goal was to make friends only, and so she acknowledged how good Malida was as a swordsman, complimenting her on her beautiful swordsmanship technique. Captain Dolan came there clapping for both girls for demonstrating such a great mock battle for everyone at the village. For some odd reason, Malida continued to blush uncontrollably after getting complimented by Christina, and hesitantly asked her to join her to have lunch together. Dolan took her up on that offer and decided to throw a feast for their new friend, leaving Christina speechless, as she never thought that these strangers would be so accepting of her. In the present, Christina has become much closer to the villagers, but she isn't happy for some reason which may be related to the reason why she came to this village. To vent out her frustration, she goes outside to train. Celina comes there with Dolan and takes Christina to her new house, inviting her to experience how it feels to sleep in Lamia's bed, which is basically a pile of hay bale. Christina gives it a try and finds it unexpectedly comfortable. Celina expresses how happy she feels at the village and states that she likes Dolan the most, as he is the most accepting of her. Dolan loves diversity so much that he apparently married the cow lady. He gladly lets others have a taste of his wife's milk. Not only that, he also competes with the villagers to see who can drink the most milk. What am I even narrating? Guys, this is crazy. Anyway, the girls don't like that Dolan is just standing so far away from them, so they force him to join them on the bed and have a laugh about it, while everyone in the village enjoy themselves with a cup of Dolan's wife's specially made milk. She walks up to Dolan and asks him how it tastes. In response, he claims it is very nice. To add to this, Dolan loudly claims that there is no one who can drink this milk more than him. He tries to challenge everyone, but no one is ready for it. Amidst this, Celina brings Lady Christina to the bar. Seeing her, Captain Dolan seeks to know why she has come. In response, she reveals that she wishes to have a taste of his wife's milk, which he always boasts about. Hearing this, his wife excitedly runs to get her a cup. When she hands her a cup, Christina gulps it down swiftly, hawking Captain Dolan to the bones. After drinking it, she commends great taste, and Dolan's wife is excited that she thinks this way. On the other hand, Captain Dolan seizes the opportunity to challenge Lady Christina to a drinking contest since he believes she is a good drinker. Since she was the one woman enough to go up against him, he seems happy to show off. Shortly after the drinking contest begins and the two gulp down a large cup of milk, asking for more. While they take down several cups, the villagers are left in awe as they watch in amazement. As time went on, Captain Dolan began to lose his composure, and one of the servants notices it. Just while he was drinking the next cup, he passes out, making Lady Christina victorious. When this happens, everyone gets excited and some men go to hug her. At first he finds this uncomfortable, but soon realizes that everyone is genuinely happy for her. This causes her to join them in laughter. When everything had settled down, Dolan is worried that Christina is still drinking, but she claims she hasn't had enough to fill her up. While the two talk, Captain Dolan's wife comes with her daughter's new drink for Christina to try it out and give her honest review. She claims she had wanted Captain Dolan to try it out, but since he had passed out, she decided to bring it to her. Offering the drink to Christina, she gulps it down and lets them know how good and tasty it is. Furthermore, she asks for another cup. This makes Captain Balin's daughter very happy, and she hugs Christina tightly to show her appreciation. While she seems pleased by this, he remembers that Dolan and Celina are the breaking she was able to get closer to the people in the village. She had sent a letter to the dean earlier informing her about this and telling her about how she has now become friends with Lamia. Reading this letter, the dean is pleased. Just then, she hears a knock on the door and a man comes to invite her to the ball, which happened to be happening in the academy. In the ball, rumors of a student of the academy being friends with Lamia continues to spread around, leaving everyone shocked as to how a demon would ever be friends with a human. However, when they realize it is Christina, who happens to be the best student in the academy, they begin to see the possibility. To deviate from this, they also comment on how beautiful the Lamia is when compared to Christina. Hearing the whispers, the dean is surprised at how fast such a rumor has spread. While she considers this a woman with a strange aura named Kieran arrives, she instructs the dean to inform her about this Lamia in detail. Hearing this, she is skeptical about why a woman such as Kieran, who happens to be the witch of the Governor-General, would be interested in the Lamia. In response, Kieran blurts out the need to not underestimate the Lamia. She wonders how a demon as powerful as a Lamia would stoop so low as to live with humans. Just then, she is reminded about the case of the missing person which still remains unsolved. This, she claims, is her reason for asking, since she doesn't want any more tragedy in the land. As much as the dean acknowledges the dangers happening lately, she informs Kieran about how kind-hearted Lamia is. Furthermore, he informs Kieran that the goddess of the land has given a revelation through her oracle to allow the Lamia alive with them. Even though Kieran has no issues with all these, she believes that the Lamia should still be summoned to the capital. In order to do so, she instructs the administrator of Verun Village to go and bring the Lamia to the capital. In the village, we see Dolan, Celina and Christina spend their time farming. While Celina seems to be doing well, Christina seems too aggressive with her farming. While the three doing this, one of the soldiers comes to inform Dolan about a happening at the village gate. On getting there, they meet the villagers gathered with the village chief in panic mode. Just then, the beardless dummy from before orders his soldiers to surround Dolan and Celina. He introduces himself as Gorda, the administrator of their district. After that, he accuses Dolan of inviting a Lamia into their land. When Dolan agrees to this, the priestess steps forward to inform him that the goddess has revealed that Celina is not evil. Even though he claims that he doesn't question this, he reveals his intention and will to make sure every potential danger is ended before they can grow. Watching him say this, Dolan wonders what he could possibly want. At that moment, he reveals that he wants to take Celina to the Governor-General in order to figure out if she is actually good or not. Not wanting her to go alone, Dolan offers to go with her, and Gorda has no issues with this. While they leave, Christina is worried about them. She decides to head back to the academy and ask the dean about this. To get there, she uses her speed powers and runs as fast as she can to the academy. On the other hand, Dolan truths to make Celina as comfortable as possible and assures her that there is no need to worry. His words keep her calm as they continue on their journey. Meanwhile, Christina finally gets to the academy and asks the dean about this. In response, the dean informs her that Gorda wasn't the one who summoned Celina, but it was in fact Kieran, the witch, who thinks that Celina is dangerous. Later on, Dolan and Celina finally arrive at their destination. Dolan and Celina are led to the Government General Mage's mansion, and Kieran has the fakest smile imaginable on her face as she is introduced to Celina, but she wasn't expecting any other visitors, so she asks who Dolan is. Dolan explains that he's a friend of Celina's, and he took it upon himself to accompany her here. Kieran says she doesn't mind the extra company, but the two of them must be hungry after such a long journey, so she invites them to come inside for some dinner. A wonderful feast has been prepared for the guests, and she tells them they can have whatever they like, since this is her way of making it up to them for forcing them to come all the way out here. Dolan appreciates the gesture, but it was inevitable that Celina would have to come to Gallop at some point if she intended to continue living in Bern. Celina is relieved that Kieran is being so nice to her, because the way soldiers carters her off made her feel as she was going to be killed. Kieran doesn't deny that killing Celina was an option at the time, because she had some concerns that Celina might be using her cursed eyes to control the villagers. However, now that she's met Celina in person, she would never do something like have her eliminated. Meanwhile, Gorda has returned to the academy, and when he enters Olivia's office, he tells her that he has something he wishes to discuss. Back at Kieran's mansion, once Dolan and Celina are done eating, Kieran asked both of them if they enjoy their food and they say it was delicious, but that's when Kieran's true intentions begin to show. Celina is definitely the nicest and most beautiful Lamia that Kieran has ever seen, not to mention that curvy tail of hers, which is why Kieran drugged the food and intends to try out every inch of Celina's body in more ways than one. At the academy, Gorda fills Christina in on the details of what's going on, and it involves the reports of women going missing in this region. Christina is adamant that Celina had nothing to do with that, but Gorda is already aware of that. The one who is really behind it is a certain mage who has been alive for over 300 years now. This mage survived so long by kidnapping young women and taking over their bodies, and now she's taking an interest in the body of a certain Lamia. Christina realizes that the mage in question is Kieran, and that means Celina must be in trouble, so she says they have to hurry over there and stop Kieran before she goes through with it, and while Olivia doesn't like the idea of Christina getting involved, but they could use all the help they can get, so she agrees to bring her along to assist. Back at Kieran's castle, she's laid Celina out on the table, and she's so excited to begin dissecting her for her sick, twisted reasons. However, before she could begin, Dolan interrupts and tells her to stop. Kieran is confused because that drug should have kept Dolan knocked out for at least a whole day, and she's sure she didn't mess up the drug dosage. Yet Dolan is active as ever, casually rips off his restraints. He never says that the magic circles on the floor all weak of blood, so Kieran must have been doing this for a while now, and he wants to know how many people she's killed. Kieran doesn't answer his question because she's still wondering how he's unaffected by her drug, so she throws her scalpel at him and accuses Dolan of not being human. Dolan dodges and reiterates his question, so Kieran tells him she doesn't know because she stopped keeping count of all the people she killed after she passed 100. Dolan is disgusted by how proud she is of that statement, so he asked her if there was even a reason to kill that many people, and Kieran believes she had a very good reason because she wanted to accessorize. Everyone possesses something beautiful, so she just decided to take the beautiful things from all the other people and put them in herself. The magic for it is technically forbidden, and Kieran had to make a few deals with the devil for it, but it was all worth it for such a fabulous body. Her arms are from an Arachne girl, her legs are from a thick-beat girl, and her flawless skin is from an elf, and she's been happy with the way she looks for a while. But now that she's seen Celina's beautiful body, she thinks it's time to switch things up a bit. Dolan thinks Kieran is messed up in the head, and he's not wrong because Kieran has no intention of apologizing or changing her ways, so redemption is out of the question. Celina heard the whole conversation, and she's equally appalled by Kieran's actions. Kieran must have tricked a lot of people with her fake kindness when they came to her for help, and she calls her out for doing such a terrible thing. But Kieran still feels no remorse whatsoever because the pursuit of beauty supersedes all in her eyes. Celina says Gorda was right about Kieran, and this surprises Kieran because she thought she had hidden her actions from Gorda really well, but it turns out that she had underestimated him. Before Dolan and Celina arrived here, Gorda informed them of Kieran's misdeeds. If he could prove it, it would certainly be enough to override her power as government general and take her down, but they needed concrete evidence. Which is why Dolan and Celina tricked her into monologuing so they could record the evidence needed, and now there's no doubt that Kieran is evil. Dolan calls Gorda and the others since they've been waiting outside for a while now. Right on cue, Gorda, Olivia, Christina and some guards bust into the room, and Gorda orders his men to capture Kieran immediately. Kieran plans to frame Celina for all the missing girls that were used in her beauty experiments, and then she would claim that she had to kill Celina for the crime so she would be free to use Celina's body as she wished. Olivia and Christina can't believe Kieran would go so far just for the sake of beauty, but Kieran says they would never understand because they don't know what it's like to lack beauty. Ever since she was a child, Kieran had been fascinated by beautiful things, and she wanted to be beautiful just like the things around her. But one quick look in the mirror shattered her dreams because she was so ugly that the animators couldn't bring themselves to draw her face. After coming to this realization, she took the next logical step and decided to steal a face off the first pretty woman that walked by. Piece by piece, Kieran stole the body parts of all the beautiful women of the land, and her unspeakable cruelty was so impressive that she received funding from a demon to expand her operation and continue her unethical experiments. She became addicted to improving her body, and she's sure that someday she will achieve the pinnacle of beauty if she continues her research, so she isn't letting anything get in her way. She reveals her true form, and not that I agree with her, but I can see why she was so desperate to change her appearance. She attempts to grab Celina, but Dolan reacts quickly and carries her to safety. He's never seen something like this before, but it looks like all the fusions Kieran made, coupled with the fact that she made a deal with the devil, led her to become this mismatched monstrosity. In the face of such horror, the guards lose their nerves. so they become liabilities and Celina is forced to use their cursed eyes to stop Kieran before she can hurt them. Celina is able to keep her frozen for a while, but eventually Kieran breaks free and attempts to grab Celina once more. However, this time Christina steps in and chops off a bunch of Kieran's fingers. There are very few things that Christina deems unforgivable, and hurting her friends is at the top of the list, so she's fully prepared to kill Kieran. She charges forward and begins slashing away at Kieran's body, but before she can do any fatal damage, Kieran becomes defensive and casts powerful dark magic to keep Christina from coming in closer. Kieran's power as a mage is truly terrifying, and there's not much Olivia can do to help in this situation because she can't summon spirits to help while they are underground. However, Dolan tells her that there's no need to get involved because he can handle things from here. While they have been keeping Kieran busy, he had been drawing some magic circles on the ground, and now that he's done he is ready to take Kieran out so Christina and Celina back off and let him work. Before he starts though, he wants to know if Kieran actually feels happy after all the lies she's taken to attain her beauty, but Kieran doesn't believe happiness is necessary as long as she chooses true beauty. Unfortunately, beauty will always be out of reach for her as long as her soul remains tainted by her wicked desires. There is no saving her, so Dolan casts a celestial javelin spell and surrounds Kieran to make sure she can't escape as she's torn shreds. After that was done, a few days passed and both Dolan and Celina were required to wait in the mansion until Gorda could deal with all the aftermath. So Dolan passes the time by helping Celina study human language. She really doesn't like having to study, but if she's going to continue living in human territory, she's going to need to learn how to express herself properly to humans. Just then, Christina comes in to pay a visit and she asks how Celina's studying has been going so far. Celina says her head hurts, but she's able to read at a decent level now, so she's making good progress. Christina tells Celina that she's doing a good job, but Celina finds it much more impressive than Christina has the strength to run all the way to this mansion every day just see them. However, today's a bit different because Gorda and Olivia have come to see them as well. Once they get inside, Gorda apologizes for not coming to visit earlier, but he has been really busy dealing with all the trouble from the Kieran incident. He also wants to apologize for getting Dolan and Celina mixed up in his plan, but Celina tells him he has nothing to be sorry about since it all worked out well in the end, especially since they were given antidotes ahead of time to make sure Kieran's drug wouldn't be effective. There's also one other thing Gorda want to mention, so he pulls out 2 pieces of paper and hands them to Celina. The first piece of paper is a permit for her to stay in the Low, and the second is her registration, so she can rest assured that there will be no further issues with her residency as of this moment. Celina is really happy to the good news, and Gorda had his way he would have approved her from day one because he could immediately tell that she was a kind and gentle Lamia. Now that Celina is officially citizen of Galois and Olivia tells Dolan that there's someone who wants to meet him, so the group heads over to the academy and meet an old friend of Dolan's named Denzel. Denzel is the son of Grandma Meguru, and Celina introduces herself to him, but he had already heard all about her from his mother and Olivia. Since they are here, he asked if they want to take a walk through town with him, so he can show them around, and both Dolan and Celina are more than happy to go with him. Denzel shows them the main street of the city where most of the people gather, and Celina is amazed to see all the wonderful things the city has to offer. But when a young boy drops a fruit and she tries to return it, the boy's mother drags her son away in fear. Celina may have official permission to live in the Galois territory, but people are still very wary of Lamias, and she understands that it won't be easy to change that, so she just turns to Dolan and suggests they should buy some gifts for everyone back home before they return to village. Once they are done with shopping for the day, Dolan says goodbye to Denzel, but before he leaves, Denzel and Olivia extend an invitation for Dolan to join the academy. When Olivia saw Dolan's magic capabilities, she felt it would be a waste if he couldn't going to use it to the fullest, and she thinks the academy would be the perfect place for him to reach his full potential. She also got a glimpse of his soul, so she knows he's a reincarnated dragon, and if he wants to protect the village has come to love, then it would be best if he expanded his knowledge for their sake. Dolan says he will think about their offer, and Celina is a little saddened since this might mean he will be leaving here soon. On a ride back home, Christina asks Dolan if he is going to accept the offer to go to the Magic Academy, and he admits that it was certainly tempting, but he doesn't want to leave village behind. He asks Christina what she thinks, and she tells him that while she thinks Burn Village is a wonderful place, there is a limit to how much can be learned in such a small village, so Dolan starts thinking that it might be a good idea to go to the academy after all. While Dolan and the others head back to Burn, catastrophe has just struck out in the forest because another gate has just been opened, and hundreds of ant monsters are pouring out of it under the control of 4 mysterious figures. Meanwhile, Somewhere in the forest, an unsuspecting elf spies on an army of what seems to be monstrous ants flooding the area. Within the shimmering portal, they pour out of stand for mysterious figures. The poor elf guy's gruesomely cut down by one of the giant ant monsters, and Link from the Zelda games arrives to find that his friend has no life in his body. He wasn't the only one, as in the aftermath of the attack many other elves have been slaughtered by the demons. A sight that shocks the two scouts to come upon this scene. The lone survivor lives long enough to tell them what happened before dramatically passing away, and the scouts go to report to their tribe's leader with the grim news. Back in the basic village of Bern, we joined Christina and our hero Dolan training the little cowboy in sword combat. With their expertise to bear help on their skills of the kids, and Dolan warns a girl that he will punch a hole in her face if she isn't careful. Our favorite snake person is staring at Dolan in both awe and a tinge of sadness as she recalls the invitation he received in the capital to join their academy. That thought that he might one day leave her behind has her down, but she snapped out of her melancholy when she notices that the local kids are using her tail as a playground. Dolan watches as Celina threatens to eat them alive, and he's happy to see her getting used to life in the village. With their training concluded, Christina approaches him with the request. She wants to enter the forest to progress the plot of the story. Rumors abound vicious beasts, and Christina's eager to test their skills against them. Dolan, in his freshest target manager uniform, is hesitant about the dangers, but Christina knows exactly the right things to say. She mentions that the local pigs haven't been able to pass through the forest ever since this beast appears, and if they don't help, who knows how much the village will suffer if their pigs remain unhappy. They must do what's best for the village and what's best for their future breakfast. Moments later, the whole gang rocks up to the forest to escort their soon-to-be bacon friends, including two nameless village guards who for sure nothing bad will happen to. With all these brave warriors among them, Dolan feels better about their chances if anything goes wrong. As if they didn't just talk about dangerous monsters being everywhere in the forest, Christine and Celina enjoy the tranquility and its fresh air. Bald Skin and the guards peel off from the group, but one of the pigs refuses to be turned into pork chops. It goes rogue as it makes a dash for freedom, so a guardsman chases after it. Sadly, all other pigs' hopes and dreams are crushed as it gets chucked towards the guard, claw marks gouged into its body. The heavy-set guard finds himself face to face with the snarling sharp tiger, and the guard is too scared to waddle away. He nearly ends up being tiger food, but Captain Dolan swoops in to save the day. A single strike from his mighty hammer fells the beast, and Dolan scolds through Snacks a lot for not sticking with the group and staying on guard. However, there is something else crawling these woods worse than tigers. The screams of their comrades brings Dolan and the girls running to a terrible scene. Dolan is down and injured while some grotesque demon looms over him ready to end things. It attacks, but Dolan quickly dispatches it with a bolt of energy. He recognizes what this monster is: a low-level demon from the demon realm known as a Zelt. They're strong and agile, which means that they're no joke. Christina's curious as to how Dolan knows so much, but the demon recover is ready for round 2. Dolan says he'll hold its attention so she can strike it down. With another cornea incantation, Dolan releases a blast of energy that stuns the demon, and Christina comes in to give its head a vacation for the rest of its body. The monster is defeated, but strangely Dolan asks this demon's true identity be kept a secret from the others. That night, the elder with eyebrow so heavy he can't even open his eyes assembles the town leaders to discuss what has transpired, and everyone is concerned about Dolan. The tiger was bad enough, but now this new unknown threat has them all on edge. If it was strong enough to beat their Vin Diesel look-alike of a captain, then Verun Village is in real danger. The other side piece, Grandma Meguru, arrives and reports that Dolan will be fine. She does have bad news though: Dolan will never grow his hair back. Also, whatever cut Dolan is no ordinary creature. Dolan asked her what she thinks is going on in the forest, but the old badge response is simply that this is what happens in life on the frontier. Weird, horrible stuff happens, and it's best to let nature run its course. Dolan isn't pleased with her plot-stopping answer and asks that he be allowed to go investigate the forest immediately. Grandma Meguru has got a bingo tournament to go to, so she just agrees, but not without making sure he has backup first. Both the knight and the Lamia volunteer, but the chief nearly breaks his spine getting up. He is horrified by the idea that Christina putting herself in so much danger, especially after he promised to guarantee her safety to Gorda and the academy. That leaves beast girl Celina, whose magic will certainly be useful if trouble arises. The heroic Dolan is against it at first, but Celina wins a staring contest against him, and he is convinced of her skills. The pair travels together for a while, and Celina's delighted to be alone with her favorite dragon boy. But she's determined to prove that she can be useful to him in the village. As they reach the edge of the forest, they notice something stirring in the shadows, and Christina strangely pops out from behind a tree like a creep. Christina seems to have never lied in her entire life because she is terrible at it, as she tells Dolan that she was just looking for a Wi-Fi signal. Dolan can tell that she was just trying to come with them, and he's disappointed with her decision to go against the chief's wishes. Christina points out that she just wants to help the people of the village, who she has come to care a great deal about, and Celina agrees, feeling the exact same way. As it turns out, her help is invaluable, as the forest is more sketchy than your search history, and it's infested with monsters. The duo clear the woods, and Dolan comes to realize that it's a very human thing to want to protect those important to you, and even he is beginning to feel it. With the last of the creepy crawlies dealt with, a new threat approaches. A hulking ape-like beast growls menacingly, and Christina readies her blade. Only for Celina to defeat the monster in her own way using the power of friendship. She apologizes to the ape and offers an apple, which seems to work. She turns to Dolan for an explanation, but is shocked when she sees that he has become the king of apes. A small picnic is laid out for everyone to enjoy, and Christina, feeling awkward, wonders how Celina is so welcoming to these monsters. Apparently Christina's blind, as Celina must explain that she isn't afraid because she's a monster too. It's natural for humans to be distrustful of her kind, and she only wish more people were as generous and open as Christina. To help Christina get over her fear, Dolan, the monkey whisperer, sends over one of his minions. The infant makes his way over to her, and Christina manages to overcome her biases and finds that they're not so bad after all. In fact, they're kind of adorable. It turns out that these monsters were just hungry after being driven out of their feeding grounds. Dolan is convinced that something is very wrong with these woods, but first comes food. Miss Mew has gifted them a jar of her jam, and I don't even want to know what part of her went into the recipe. Regardless, it goes perfect with Dolan's homemade Lunchables. Christina marvels at the spread and takes a bite, much to the other two's fascination. Celina says it's cute just watching her eat, and Dolan agrees, there's definitely something elegant about the night. As if she were just pulled straight out of an old painting. Christina isn't interested in being the meat to their sandwich, but Celina is just desperate to know the secret to her grace, saying that learning it will definitely help her in her quest to find a husband. Dolan, smooth as butter, comes in with "You are perfect just the way you are," which molted the Lamia in an instant. The good times are soon interrupted when something comes flying out of the woods. Bouncing off a tree, they see it's a small orb, inside of which is a tiny fairy girl. She seems hurt and mutters for them to run, but before they can get any answers, a Zelted appears ready for a fight. These are pretty terrifying monsters, but for some reason they're wearing toupees. Celina makes sure that the ape's family flees to safety, while Dolan and Christina draw their weapons and engage in the fight. The team is quickly surrounded as the demons pour out of the forest, nearly catching Celina before Dolan has a chance to destroy them. The fight rages on, but Dolan is shocked when the evil ant can advance, uses its own teammate as a ramp. That ant has taken the high ground, so Dolan is forced to use a type of magic we've never seen before. Though he's regretful to do so, Dolan transforms like the Hulk if you were just kind of angry, and one of his arms becomes massive. With such power, he easily manages to defeat the demons. Christina too has mopped up her half, but one sneaks up on her from behind. Thankfully, Celina is there, and she uses the power of her annoying voice to summon her snake. With the danger dealt with, the heroes now have a chance to speak with the fairy. She introduces herself as Marl and reveals she had been attacked by those demons out of nowhere, and she's glad for their help. Dolan knows that these Zelts are just a lowly foot soldiers of the demon world, and their appearance can only mean something, for our deadlier is bound to appear in their wake. Christina hopes to get some answers from the overgrown mosquito, but before she can, the group senses that they are once again surrounded. Christina goes to draw her sword, but the Dolan stops her because he can tell that whatever is looking at them is just curious. Dolan places his sword on the floor as a gesture of goodwill to the mysterious beings. Christina, for some reason, agrees with his decision to leave themselves completely vulnerable, and so they discover who it is. It's the woodland elves, and they're none too happy that Marl is associating with strangers and their forest. Unsurprisingly, Legolas and his buddies don't take kindly to outsiders in their forest, but when Fairy Marl tells them what they did for her, his tone changes a little. Meanwhile, Celina tries to look as intimidating as possible with their eyes closed. She uses her brilliant deduction skills and determines that this must be the elven forest. Dolan tells the girls that things will be okay because the elves aren't there to fight, but he still tells him to get behind him just in case. The leader of the elves shocks the trio when he bows his head and expresses his gratitude for helping. This guy then goes right back to reminding them that they don't belong in forest, and he demands to know why they're here. Dolan reveals what's been going on and explains that they've been searching for answers. He even apologizes for barging into their forest unannounced, but the fact remains that the elves want them to leave because it's really dangerous. When Dolan mentions the demons, their leader Geo tenses up. The monsters have invaded home and the elves have been fighting for their lives ever since the demon army showed up. He ends the conversation abruptly and turns to leave, but Christina snaps and rushes over. She wants to know what he's doing about the situation. She wants to know if there's enough of them to fight this threat, and if news of the demon army has been sent to the rest of the world. She gets a little handsy in her excitement, and is nearly filled full of arrows for her trouble, but Dolan and Celina pulled her back to her senses. She apologizes for going overboard, but she knows that the elves must be in danger. Fighting just one of those demons was a challenge, so for the forest to be full of them, the elves must be in terrible trouble. They quickly realize that if they work together, they have a better chance of saving their forest. Hearing this, the elves realize that they're dealing with some stand-up people, and this Dolan guy can't be that bad if he's managed to get these feisty girls in his harem. Marl explains to everyone that not only are they friendly, but they managed to beat back the demons as well. Dolan wasn't sure about the little fairy at first, but now he's grateful to have her tiny but powerful personality on his side. Given what he now knows, he understands that there must indeed be a demon gate somewhere in this forest. If it's open and spewing out demons, then someone is controlling it and it's Zelt. He must close it before it opens fully, because if he doesn't, even more powerful monsters will come out of it. Dolan stops that negative mentality and reminds himself that he will just destroy any powerful monsters that threaten this world, even if it means that people will find out about the dragon soul inside of him. Even if his peaceful life in the village is ruined, he vows to stop the evil army, no matter the cost. Dolan then proposes a team-up, but the elven leader is hesitant. Luckily, his much smarter sister comes in and reminds him that his people need all the help they can get. Her words penetrate Geo Stick's goal, so he agrees to an alliance with our heroes. With the trio's help, they can end his demon threat once and for all. They're about to seal the deal with the firm handshake when the whole world starts shaking around them. The demon gate has been torn open, and through it steps a whole new level of bad news. 3 powerful demon knights come striding into the forest through the gate, each freakier than the last. There's no time to lose, so Dolan acts quickly. Using wind magic to enhance their speed, he and the others race towards the elf village, desperate to close the gate before all is lost. No demon invasion would be complete without a demon lolly, and this one is no different. The lolly's excited to wreak havoc in this new world, but the other two, being a lot less adorable, remind her that they're the tip of the spear. As the head of the invasion, it's their job to get things ready for their master and retrieve something important from the forest. They wonder where their 4th member is, but the big red one called Georude can't wait. He wants to play a game. He knows that the elves are nearby and challenges the others to see who can find them first. Jaren, the big metal toaster-looking one, says he's not interested in such insects, but that doesn't stop his partner from charging off into the woods on the hunt for some new playthings. Meanwhile, the lolly's practically drooling over the idea of slaughter and mayhem and can't wait to get started. The elves are fighting back the demon horde, struggling to keep their village safe against an unending assault of Zelts. Things only go from bad to worse when Georude arrives, and he proudly announces that this is war. This guy uses his Mega Man arm, and with the single strike, he tears through the elves' defenses like there were papers. Nearby, Geo gets a tweet from the forest spirits that warned him of the new threat attacking the village. They have to hurry, but it's not going to be easy with so many lesser demons blocking their path. Back at the village, Georude is living his best life, absolutely reveling in the chaos. He's about to enjoy massacring one off in particular, when suddenly his spears stopped dead in its tracks. Vines start wrapping themselves around his body, sprouting flowers as they suck his blood and sap his magic. The demon knight is brought to his knees and held there as a new player enters the fray. The big guy curses his new foe as the Black Rose Theodora reveals herself. Dolan and the rest of the party have nearly made it to the village, but the demons are making their progress easy. Dolan utters a magical incantation and summons a storm of magic arrows from the sky. Backing him up, Christina's swordsmanship and Celina's Lamian's powers manage to cut a path through the horde and make it to the secret entrance of the elven village. Before they enter it, Dolan gives the girls magic stones, the same ones he gathered at the very beginning when he first met Celina in the swamp. He tells them they can use it to unleash powerful magic, and Christina doesn't want to waste the opportunity. Wielding the stone's potent power, she calls forth a massive tornado that sends the demons flying. Celina follows up by turning the very earth against them. Dolan is determined to remind everyone that he's the main character, so he unleashes a massive explosion spell. The last of the small fries are wiped out by the team, so Gio is really impressed, and he wonders where they've been hiding such power. If he had known they were so capable, he would have asked for their help earlier, but there's no time to waste on that now, while the village is still in danger. Nearby, Gio is still getting wrecked by a plant, and the goth girl condemns the demon for his attack. The audacity to crush her flowers, tear up her forest, and kill her animals is too much of a sin to be forgiven. She declares that the demon will pay for his crimes, but Gio merely laughs at her. He tells the witch that the real sin is being weak. She points out that she beat him really easily, so weakness is just another crime Theodora charges him with. She prepares to finish off the helpless demon knight, but a demon lolly appears out of nowhere. She rescues her hapless companion, rotting the vines into dust, before they can take his life. She introduces herself as one of the 4 knights of the demon world named Refrasia. Thankfully, our heroes have finally arrived at the village, but it's about to be destroyed. Meanwhile, the 2 demon knights banter, Refrasia mocking her victim partner for getting himself in trouble. The big guy insists that he didn't need her help, but the truth is he would have been plant food if she hadn't shown up when she did. Theodora says that she doesn't care if there's 1 or 100 of them, they're all going down. She summons the spirits of the forest to unleash one final spell to finish off the demons, but something is wrong. The spirits aren't answering. As petals begin to rain down from the sky, Refrasia laughs and reveals that on her way here, she noticed the flowers were blooming across the forest. Naturally, she took her time torturing and destroying each one like a lunatic. This flower-hating menace even makes fun of the way the 4 spirits screamed and begged for Theodora to save them while the demon tormented them. With her friends and allies torn apart, Theodora's weakened and enraged. She attacks the demons in anger, but they easily avoid the vines. As the demon lolly continues her crazy person mockery, raising a magical shield, Refrasia reveals that she too was a powerful spirit, just like the one she tortured but from the demon world. With her decay magic, she is Theodora on the ropes, but the Black Rose isn't giving up. She counters with more vines, and Refrasia is amused routing them just like the others. She declares that she is a demon flower that feeds on life, and everything exists to be her food. The nut job is pretty arrogant, but this causes her to miss one of Theodora's vines, and the attack strikes her, drawing blood. Refrasia gets revenge for messing up her already ugly face, but Theodora explains as she already made the decision to end all demon lives a long time ago. Finally, Gio has finished just sitting around and rushes in, breaking Theodora's defenses with his spear before Refrasia uses the opportunity to get a little revenge. Theodora can feel her mana being drained and her wounds aren't healing like they're supposed to. Things are looking bad as Theodora regrets not being able to avenge her family. Just then a flash of light in the sky breaks the darkness, and something comes hurtling into the fray, sending the 2 demons reeling. Dolan has arrived and our boy is not messing around. Dolan's sudden arrival has tipped the scales of this fight, and the demons can feel it. This is no ordinary dude, even Theodora starting to feel some kind of way when she lays eyes on the dragon Reborn. He offers her his hand and asks if she can stand, but Gio takes Dolan turned his back on them as a challenge and he attacks. Christina blocks the sneak attack meant for Dolan, and with his help the 2 of them manage to fend off the hellish fiend. Refrasia tries her luck next, only to take an arrow to the face for her trouble. She's more annoyed than hurt, and Dolan tells her plainly that if she didn't want to deal with the arrows, she should have never messed with a bunch of bow-wielding elves in the first place. The tide seems to have turned in the favor of the good guys, but a sudden and powerful shockwave shakes the forest as a demon gate unleashes a new evil upon the world. This means that the 4th and final night has arrived. The other 2 means to deal with Dolan and the gang before their comrade shows up, but Celina isn't having any of it. She is pissed, and everyone knows that the angrier a girl gets, the more heads her summoned snake power has. Reincarnates tries to act immediately, but Dolan has been waiting. He eats the little lolly into the stratosphere before she's combo like a volleyball by Theodorus Vines. At this point, Georude is pretty sick of getting tied up by strange women. Regardless, he's helpless when Dolan pulls up to blast them away with the spirit of fiery judgment. However, before their dragon cannot lose his magic, he indirectly changes trajectory and fires his attack off into the tree line. His magic intercepts Jaren, the DIY mecha demon who has shown up to even the odds. This demon's target is Celina, as apparently his master would very much like to see the snake girl for a little chat. Georude uses the opportunity to break free of her Lamian magic, and he rushes forward to destroy her. Thankfully, Christina's there and parries that filthy casual's attack. He can't believe that a mere human girl could have stopped him, and he accuses her of being superhuman, a worthy challenger last. Flattery isn't going to save the demon from her wrath, however, and the White Knight calls upon the true power of her sword, El Sparta. Georude is so slow that she has no problem maneuvering him and driving her blade into his glowing weak point. Meanwhile, Celina turns her attention to the metal monstrosity and says she'll handle this one. With her earthen magic, she manages to pin him down so her Lamian curse can reach its mark. Jaren merely shrugs off her attack like it was nothing more than a brisk wind. He demands she try again, and Celina answers his taunts with her coiling serpent, but no matter what she throws at him, nothing seems to faze the monster. Jaren seems almost disappointed, and her inability to finish them off, but before he can do any harm, Dolan slides in and delivers a brutal uppercut to his shiny guy parts. Dolan declares that this battle is all but over, but the truth is that it has only just begun. Things go from bad to worse when the mighty demon George arrives on the scene with the superhero landing. At this point, the elves have managed to fight off the lesser demons, but the good news isn't enough to make Geo any less afraid. The powerful aura radiating off this new armored foe is staggering, and even the other demons seem afraid of him. George apologizes to Jaren for the interruption, while Dolan studies the demon, coming to the conclusion that this monster isn't like the others at all. George is on another level of being created for the thrill of battle and little else. He's impressed with Dolan, congratulating him on managing to harm his fellow demons, and challenging him to a one-on-one duel to test their strength. Dolan isn't one to back down from a challenge, and rushes into the fray to introduce himself to this arrogant enemy. As they cross blades, Dolan briefly uses his dragon powers, and George recognizes something familiar in this supposed human. While the girls are in awe how Dolan seems to be pushing the demon back, our hero's more concerned on what it's going to take to defeat this armored menace. Neither sword nor magic is enough to slow George down, and Dolan asks whether he's a fallen angel to be as powerful as he is. George is hardly surprised Dolan managed to uncover his true identity with a mere glance, seeing as he true was he appears. Frustrated, Dolan knows he can't win without his true power, but if he were to unleash it here, there would be too much collateral damage to the village and the people within. They both agree that this duel isn't a contest of words, it's a fight with blades, and they go at it once more. George's assault is brutal, but they'll install manages to get a strike in the end. The cut is superficial at best, but George is delighted to have found such an interesting opponent in this world, as he begins to gather an immense amount of mana for his next attack. Reincarnates and Georude use the opportunity to double-team our hero, while Jaren keeps the girls from interrupting. 1 or 100, no matter the number of weaklings thrown at Dolan, it won't be enough to stop him, and he easily deals with their pesky interference. However, the distraction is enough to buy George the time he needed to complete his preparations. The demon's magic begins to rattle the entire forest, as his power surges and pierces the heavens. The dragon Reborn doesn't bat an eye and doesn't even try to evade. Celina cries out in fear, but Dolan gives her a look that reminds her that he's the protagonist of this anime. Instead of trying to run, Dolan holds his blade up high and readies himself. With unwavering conviction, he takes George's attack head-on and slices the ultimate attack in two, deflecting the force away harmlessly. The fallen angel is thoroughly impressed with this not-so-human man. He thought this job in the mortal world was going to be dull, but his opponent has made it worth his time. Our hero has served to amuse him greatly, but Dolan isn't fighting to simply entertain. That's when George notices where Dolan's attention really lies, with the puny mortals he's trying to protect. He realizes the Dolan cannot fight him at full strength without risking everyone around him, so the demon proposes something out loud for all to hear. He calls out to the elves of the forest and gives them a simple choice. continue to struggle in vain against an enemy that can never hope to defeat or join them and live. In 3 days' time, the demons will return to this village, and on that day they must choose between mercy and ruin. The other 3 knights are really disappointed to hear that they're leaving before they can finish the fight, particularly Verun, who tells Christina he will never forget this humiliation she's brought upon him. Christina, for her part, already doesn't remember who he is. Refrasia warns she'll be back for Theodora, but the Goth witch vows to avenge the forest for all the wrongs that demon thought has caused. George reminds him that they'll be back in 3 days, and Dolan says he'll be waiting. As George and the others depart, the demon knight can't believe he actually went up against the dragon face to face. With the fight suddenly over, Celina throws herself into Dolan's arms, worried sick about him. That smile he gave her at the end made her think that it was all over. Thankfully, they both survived unharmed. No one seems to care, but Christine is also fine and she has many questions for Dolan, but for now they need to speak with the elves. They follow Geo through the elven village, and can't help but feel that unsettling eyes of the people who don't seem to want them there. Dolan explains that they just arrived at a bad time, and they'll earn the elves' trust through their actions. They're taken to meet the leader, Dio, an elderly man smiling like he didn't just have his whole world nearly wiped out by the demons. He's accompanied by 2 other weirdos, along with the Theodora, and it all feels strangely similar to the Council of Elders back in Verun Village. The old elf thanks to Trio for their aid in fighting back the demon invasion, as well as saving Marl, the fairy girl. He introduces a werewolf called Vlake and Alcien, the local spider babe. Each of them is the respective chieftain of their people, and together informs the leadership that watches over the forest. Dio has heard of Dolan's inhuman capabilities, and he surprises the gang when he announces that they have agreed to ask the humans in the capital for aid. It's even more of a surprise when he calls Dean Olivia into the room. Olivia's sudden arrival has surprised the gang, but they're glad to see her nonetheless. She explains that she was born in this village and has come to help just like they have. The elder Dio calls the council into session and informs the gang that they won't just be sitting on their heels while they wait for the demons to return. They intend to counterattack in the morning with all the strength they can muster and take the gate. Without the gate anchoring them in this world and feeding the demons' power, they'll be banished from the mortal world and sent back to hell where they belong. Hopefully, once the thread is gone, the forest can finally begin healing itself. Dolan is down for a fight and says that they're here to help any way they can. Vlake the furry expresses the same sentiment rest of the council feels when he says he feels rather pitiful asking for Dolan's help. It's a sad day when the people of the forest can't save themselves without outside interference, but they all know that if it wasn't for our hero's intervention, the force would very likely have been overrun by evil. Olivia vouches for the crew and mentions that word has been sent to the outside world as well. Should they fail in their attack, then at the very least those that come after them will be able to finish the fight. Dolan admires the fighting spirit of the elves and means to match it with his own. He, Christina, and Celina vowed to live up to their expectations and drive the enemy from their home no matter what. Meanwhile, the demon knights are having their own little powwow, and the vibes are not so upbeat. After getting their butts handed to them by a bunch of anime protagonists, none of the hellish monsters are in a good mood. Each of them wants payback on their respective counterparts. Verun and Refrasia in particular are mad as heck and take out their frustrations on the poor Zelts just minding their own business. Jaren is annoyed at the two's antics and asks George to do something, but even the head knight is feeling anxious about their upcoming rematch. George says to leave them to their anger. He's more curious about this Dolan character. There's something about that boy he recognizes, and if he's right, then this upcoming fight will be the biggest of their lives. Jaren, the metallic demon, is surprised to hear that coming from the fallen angel, as an unfortunate ankles flying past his head. He didn't know anything in this realm, could hope to be a challenge for George. But as the knight explains, Dolan is not from this realm at all. The skills, aura, and magic used by that man all hint at something he experienced long ago, before his fall. And we flash back in time to that moment. George was not always a demon he is today. In the distant past, he was once a holy soldier of the Lord Aldous, who often fought against the demon gods. In this battle, he and his fellow soldiers are reeling from the aftermath of a disastrous fight where only a few of their number had survived. Though weakened and injured, George tells the other angels that they need to regroup with their lord and continue this fight. However, his words are interrupted by the sudden arrival of something massive on the horizon. He turns in shock to see the old dragon god driving back the enemy with the ease, stomping a path of ruin through their ranks and sowing fear among the demons. The sight of it alone was enough to instant awe on George, and he still remembers that moment. In the present, he has a hard time understanding how that great and terrible dragon is now measly human, but he's not upset. If anything, it makes him more excited. To fight the ancient dragon would be an excellent test of his prowess, and the fallen god cannot wait to duel Dolan once more. Back at the elf village, Theodore is brooding up a storm when Dolan walks up. She warns our hero that she's not in the best mood, and she can't be blamed for what she might do if he should carelessly approach. Dolan says he just has a small favor to ask, and when Theodora turns to snap at him, she realizes he's not right next to her. Having taken her words literally, Dolan made sure to approach her as carefully as he could, so much so that the goth babe didn't even notice a move. Theodora says that he's quite a weirdo, and the dragon Reborn admits that he gets that a lot. More importantly, however, he knows that she's still hurting from the wounds Raphrasia gave her during the fight. Slightly annoyed, Theodora reveals that she'd been walking around with the horrible injury this whole time, like it was nothing. Dolan explains that he's going to heal her by pouring his spirit juice into her, and it would be better if she didn't resist. To Theodora's surprise, that actually works, and she wonders out loud if he's even human. She goes on to lament the fate of the flower spirits that the rout Raphrasia hurt and blames herself for not protecting them better. What the demons did was unforgivable, and is the one who survived. It's up to her to avenge the flowers. Dolan asks if he can help the flower lover, and Theodora's cold gothic heart warms a little at his kindness. Everyone chatting over some flower tea, when Dolan joins them for a bite to eat. Dolan enjoys the meal and says he could definitely more of this. Theo was glad and makes a bit of fun of Christina because she managed to devour everything in an instant. Celina wants to know the White Knight's secret, asking how she manages to keep everything she eats from going to her waist and instead seems to send it all to her chest. Theo, on the other hand, being built like a brick wall, is jealous of them both. The girls notice that Dolan is staring and they call him out for it. Our boy was just trying to enjoy his meal, but smooth as always, he tells the girls that none of them have anything to be envious of. With dinner done, the group decides it's time for rest, and Celina offers to take Dolan's dishes for him. However, as she does, he notices a tremble in her hand. Later that night, he wakes up to find that the snake girl has vanished from her bed. He finds her sitting alone on a balcony overlooking the village. He can tell right away that she's more than just a little nervous and decides to join her. He says that the view of the elven village from up here is absolutely stunning. Under the midnight moon, the village is a majestic sight that soothes the heart just to see. Dolan then asks if she's all right. After the battle with the demons, Celina has been acting strange and he wants to know if she's afraid. Celina explains that she's not really afraid of the demons, but it's pretty complicated. She thinks back to the moment she had one of them in her grasp, but couldn't bring herself to destroy them. Even after everything the demons did, even though she knew they were pure evil, she was too weak-willed to actually finish off the enemy when the time came. She feels ashamed for being a bad Lamia, and she wishes she could change. Dolan comforts Celina by saying that he once thought all Lamia were cold-hearted creatures until he met her. Dolan hopes she doesn't have to change now when he likes this kind and gentle version of her so much. This smooth-talking dragon already has her blushing, but he takes the cake when he gives her gift on top of it all. It's a small magical stone that glimmers in the moonlight. Celina can feel a tremendous amount of power coming from it, and Dolan explains that it's a special charm. However, he doesn't go into detail on how he made it, and just says that it comes from a wish he had to keep her safe. He wraps it around Celina's wrist like a bracelet, and says that it will protect her in tomorrow's fight. Suddenly, Christina attacks with a warm blanket, and chides the two of them for hugging this magical view all to themselves. They asked her to join, and the three snuggle under the covers looking out over the village together. Feeling rejuvenated and more confident, Celina jumps up and exclaims as she will do everything she can to protect the elves and their home. Christina joins her, proudly declaring that she will destroy the demon threat no matter what it takes. The three settled in for the night, but his Dolan took Celina in. Christina asked him if he has ever heard the term superhuman. Dolan lies when he tells her he never has. The next morning we see that the people of the forest have gathered from far and wide, ready to march to war. Gio gives a rousing speech condemning the demons and riling up the warriors. He will never forgive, and he will never forget what has been done to their forest. He cries out for his brothers and sisters to join him in avenging their home and bringing the demon scourge to justice. As the army moves to attack the gate, we see the plan for the battle laid out. The gate has 3 other portals tied to it, and if they hope to close it for good, all of them must be shut down. The forces divide themselves up into 3, each attacking the smaller portals while Dolan and the gang attack the main gate head-on. Dolan and the girls are riding in the back of a wagon while Geo and his commando squad escort them to the battlefield. The demons aren't just waiting back for them to arrive, however, and Dolan can feel them getting close. Without a word, Celina jumps out the back and tells them to keep going. She is going to help the elves here and hold back the horde. Dolan and Christina are worried, but Celina is sure of herself. She'll make her stand and make her friends proud. A while later, the battle for Anti-Forest begins. This time it's the demons on the defensive as he took the demon knights prepared to stop their enemies from taking the gates. Georude faces off against the elves and the rest of the woodland critters, including one spider girl who tells them it's all over for the demon. His freaky mouth thing just laughs at her and says they better not disappoint, he's ready for one hell of a fight. Refrasia is also giddy to get things started and is excited to see her old friend has finally arrived. Theodora lowers into frame happy as a worm on the end of a fisherman's hook to see the lolly. The goth which has been waiting for this rematch and tells the lolly that she's going to finally get what she deserves. Jaren kicks things off with a bang as the elves begin their assault. Geo reminds them that they have arrows, so the elves try their luck attacking from a distance instead. Jaren sends them and their pathetic arrows flying with the gust of wind, taunting the elves to come at him. As they prepare for another strike, a familiar voice calls out to stand back. An avalanche of boulders forms over the demon's head before Celina sends them crashing down upon him. She stands in shock at her own power, realizing her magic has been buffed to the max, thanks to Dolan's friendship bracelet. Theo and the others are surprised to see her here when she should be with the other heroes. Celina explains that she's here to help and maybe get a little payback as well. She knows that she better be ready though because her opponent isn't messing around. Meanwhile, Christina and Dolan are still on their way to the main gate. The White Knight is worried about her favorite snake girl, and the truth is that so was Dolan. He isn't sure if she will come out of this unharmed, but he believes in Celina and feels that her bravery and valor are something to be encouraged, not afraid of. Still, Christine is a good friend and wants to go back. It isn't until their wagon comes across Georude that Christina is finally convinced that she has more important things to concern herself with. The fight against the demon is going poorly for the woodland critters. While some might find getting webbed up by cute anime spider woman a dream come true, this demon isn't having any of it. He tears free of their webbing and bodies to beast men without breaking a sweat. Smokey the bear in particular gets it the roughest as he's gobbled up by Gerude's bottom half. Suddenly Christina comes Tokyo drifting onto the scene. After having told Dolan to go on alone while she deals with things here, she rams the wagon right into the demon, throwing him off his feet. While Georude rages at the indignity, Christina informs the poor sucker that he's got a new opponent. The spider girls look on in awe at the sure coolness of their valiant hero, but are snapped out of their fangirling when Christina tells them to get out of here. She'll deal with this freak on her own. Georude is disappointed that he has to face the superhuman girl. He was more in the mood for some Dolan action, but she will have to do. Christina, not remembering who Georude even is, tells them that she's in a hurry and doesn't have time for autographs. Activating her sword's true power, Christina squares up and readies herself for a fight. Georude charges with the roar and the 2 cross blades. It isn't long before Christina lands the first blow, but the demon simply regenerates the damage, referring to her as a superhuman once again. Christina still isn't sure what he means, but no amount of flattery will save him from her wrath. Dolan races through the forest on foot, knowing full well his allies have got this thing in the bag. Even still, he wants to keep casualties to a minimum, so he kicks into overdrive and soars into the air using his dragon wings. Theodora's struggle against Refrasia is in full swing now. However, the little demon girl has been denying the witch a real fight and using her minions to keep her busy instead. The answer no match for Theodora, and she demands to know when the lolly will grow a pair and face her herself. Refrasia decides that her opponent is right and uses her magic to enclose their arena in a bubble of vines. Theodora uses Razor Leaf to disperse the demons or of decay, but it's not very effective. Unfortunately, at this point the demon has gorged herself on the souls of the forest. This has led to her becoming far too strong for the witch's plan. Refrasia attacks using those very souls as ammunition, unleashing a barrage that pushes Theodora back. Like all little girls, Refrasia's evil knows no bounds and she mocks Theodora. She tells her that she should accept the souls of her friends since she wanted to save them all so badly. Our favorite goth girl does her best, but even when her vines manage to reach the demon, they merely disintegrate the moment they touch Reflection's aura. Refrasia revels in the torment she's causing, but Theodora has only just begun to fight. Rising back to her feet, she reminds the demon that wearing red is so last year, and it's black that's back in season. The roses on her vines begin to blossom, revealing a power that the witch sealed long ago. Refrasia is surprised to see that the witch has the same power of decay that she has. However, her shock is replaced with glee as she wants to make a bet to see whose soul will be the first to wither and die. The two corrosive forces clash, but Refrasia's stream is spicier, and she eventually overwhelms her opponent. The demon lolly sucks Theodora's life dry, guzzling up her soul juice like it's a Slurpee. Theodora asks if the little weirdo one joins the taste of her unresolved daddy issues that her goth soul is full of. Refrasia absolutely loves it, drooling all over herself as she greedily devours more and more. Little does she know no one can handle that much emo energy. It begins writhing beneath her skin, bursting out of her face in the form of a black rose that instantly entangles her body and vines. Refrasia is confused and horrified, but Theodora explains that this battle was over before it even began. During their last fight, she had managed to injure the demon with her vines, but in reality it was more than just a cut. The witch had planted a seed in the demon, and after absorbing so much of her power, it was finally ready to bloom. Like a Tide Pod in an unsupervised toddler's mouth, Refrasia popped, bringing an end to the lolly once and for all. Unfortunately, Theodore's gambit didn't come without a price. Too much of her energy was spent defeating the demon. In the end, she isn't strong enough to defend herself against the hordes of lesser beasts who quickly encircled her. Things look bad for the witch as the ants' strong year, but a rain of light falls from the sky, destroying the demons before they can reach her. Theodora uses the last of her strength to look up and sees a winged hero swooping in for the rescue. Nearby, we see that things aren't going so well on the other side of the forest. Celina, battered and bruised, wakes up upside down and woozy. She thinks it might have been too many tequila shots last night, until she remembers she was just in a fight with the demon. Something went horribly wrong in her battle against the metallic monstrosity, and now she finds herself shish kebabs on a tree. Theodora awakens to a much less dire situation, as she sees Dolan destroy the minor gate. She asked what this magic circle around her is, and the dragon explains that it's a form of healing and protection. As long as she's inside, she'll be safe. She thanks him not just for saving her this time, but the last time as well. It's starting to become a habit of his. She notices the fancy new wings, however, and is producer that Dolan isn't the human he claims to be. Dolan explains it in a past life he was a pretty OP dragon, and though he's a human now, the soul of that dragon still remains. The sight of a real-life dragon has the goth girl shaken, but Dolan doesn't have time for her right now. He has to fly. Theodore asked for a ride, but Dolan denies her because George is waiting for him. All she can do is ask him to be safe and take it easy. However, it's not because she's worried about him. She's more worried about what a dragon's power would do to the forest if he were to unleash his full might and the fight against the demons. Dolan promises to be extra careful and flies off. Meanwhile, the elves continue the war against Jaren, holding the Gundam ape while they tend to Celina. The Lamia has seen better days, and the shock of what has happened hasn't fully hit her yet. The agony of the branch being torn out of her is enough to snap her back to reality. Geo tries to quickly cast a spell for the pain, but before he can, Dolan's gift begins casting healing magic on its own. As her wounds heal, the elf siblings get a warning that Jaren is fast approaching. There isn't time to do much else to lead them away, so Theo tells Celina to flee as soon as she can. They promise that they will deal with the demon on their own. Even on the brink of unconsciousness, Celina refuses to run, but Theo, when her injuries don't give her much of a choice. The battle between Christina and Georud rises on, and to nobody but Gerud's surprise, the demon is losing badly. Yet everyone Christina and Flix only heals a second later thanks to his regeneration. As the fight drags on, her stamina is beginning to run out. She asks how much more punishment does the demon need to suffer before he gets the idea and just dies already. Laughing, Georud explains as superhumans, or an abomination among mankind, a special breed more powerful than regular people. Ostracized and shunned by their own kind, they are the nemesis of their enemies. Superhumans have killed countless demons, evil gods, and even the strongest dragon in history. Meanwhile, George is waiting in front of the final gate as the strongest dragon in question lands before him. George bows before the dragon, thanking him for finally coming. The revelation behind her power has Christina reeling. Something clicks inside her head as she recalls an old song she heard long ago. As Georude charges, demanding to see that heroic power himself, Christina thanks him. His words have unlocked something within her, something that allows her to wield her power as it was meant to be wielded. She lunges forward, slicing off one arm, then another. The demon's legs follow suit, cut out from under him, and a series of quick slashes. Georude wonders if this is how the dragon felt before he died. With one final swing of her sword, Christina webs the smile off Gerude's big mouth and lopped his head clean off. Seeing as how the dragon and the hero were once friends, she knows whatever the dragon fell at the betrayal, and it wasn't anything like this. Aside from Jaren the Gundam, there's only one other demon left. George explains to Dolan that ever since he witnessed him fighting alongside his god Alds this long ago, he has wanted to do battle with the ancient dragon. Dolan isn't impressed with the fallen god's warmongering, but George is on the cusp of greatness, and he knows that the dragon is at its weakest now in his human form. He wants Dolan Heart as a prize and invites the dragon to step through the demonic gate. Within the demon realm, Dolan have to worry about keeping his power in check during their duel. The dragon agrees, and the two ancient warriors step through the gateway to finish this fight once and for all. After somehow managing to carry Celina's fat butt to safety, Fio realizes that she forgot to delete her browser history and scampers off. Alone, Celina starts to suffer a crisis of faith in herself. She's scared and feeling hopeless, yet at the same time she knows that her friends need her more than ever. When her body refuses to move, it dawns on the Lamia that she may not be cut out for this hero business after all. Meanwhile, the elves continue their battle against Jaren, the terrifying tragedy compactor. Using teamwork, they manage to impress the demon but little else. Things go from bad to worse when he reveals that this wasn't even his final form. Jaren can alter his body at will, and it wouldn't be a proper anime without some tentacles in the mix. The screams from her friends in the distance for Celina back to her senses. Using Dolan's gift to muscle the courage she needs, Celina decides something. As much as she hates hurting people, she refuses to see those she cares for being hurt themselves. The fight for the elves has gone south fast and things aren't looking good for Geo. Jaren taunts him before raising his axe up high to finish the job. Before the final blow can be struck, Celina returns and binds the demon with a chain of magic. The elves are shocked to see that the snake girl has returned, and so is Jaren, who doesn't waste any time trying to finish what he started. Celina's Lamia magic puts an end to his tentacles, and a big fist from the earth itself puts him flat on his metallic backside. She tells the elves that this is her redemption arc and they need to get out of her way so they aren't caught up in the fighting. Jaren warns her that he won't be taking prisoners this time, but Celina isn't scared anymore. She's determined to put an end to his evil, and she summons a hailstorm of boulders to crash upon his head. It doesn't hold a monster for long, but it gives her enough time to begin the incantation for evil eyes, her ability to paralyze anything she looks upon. Jaren charges her, trying to stop the magic from being cast, but he's caught in Celina's glare before he can take even one more step. He's trapped and helpless as the Lamia goes on to use even more of her serpent magic. However, the demon breaks free and fends off the storm of snakes. Celina isn't done and fuses the serpents into one massive beast. This time it's Jaren that feels fear as he looks up, see the gargantuan beast, and he remarks that it looks just like a dragon that is right before it takes a big old dragon-sized bite out of the demon. The elves can hardly believe what they've just seen, but there's no denying it. One more demon knight has fallen to our heroes. Now that leaves only one left. Dolan and George face off in the nightmare realm of the demons, and the dragon Reborn asks him something. If this is George, little piece of hell, why is it nothing but wasteland? The wannabe dragon slayer explains that he's been busy working as a mercenary for the royal family that rules this hellscape, and he hasn't had time to tidy up. It doesn't matter much to Dolan, who's simply relieved that he can use his full power without concerning himself with collateral. The two draw their weapons and ready themselves for the battle at hand. Dolan warns George that defeat will mean utter annihilation for the demon, but the fallen lord is confident that this spice-seized dragon doesn't have what it takes to win. Dolan takes one slice at him and George decides that's enough for play. He begins writing his ultimate attack, but before it can reach its target, Dolan dismantles the magic with a single swing of his blade. Seeing the swath cut into the terrain by his opponent move, George only becomes all the more excited for their epic battle. This will be the fight that he has been waiting his whole life for. Back in the mortal world, Celina and Christina are reunited. Even Theodora is there, and when she's asked about Dolan, She says that he was heading to the main gate the last time she saw him. At the gate, Dean Olivia is investigating when she notices a strange glowing stone on the ground. Before she can figure out what it is, the leaders of the forest arrive and report that all the other lesser demons in the area have been dealt with. Olivia assumes that Dolan has chased the final demon lord through the gate, which is news that astonishes everyone. Soon talk begins of sealing the gate now, while they have the perfect opportunity to save the forest. However, the thought of betraying Dolan and cutting him off doesn't sit well with everyone. Back in hell, Dolan and George are going at it with they've got. The two clash in a flurry of swords, but Dolan uses an opening to deliver a dragon power punch that sends George flying. Instead of rethinking his life choices, George doubles down and tells his enemy to bear witness to his years of swordsmanship at work. On the other side of the gate, an argument rages between two opposing sides, one calling for the gate to be sealed before it's too late and the other to wait for Dolan. Unfortunately, no one can be sure about what's going on in the demon realm. Dolan could be losing his fight, they speak, but Celina knows her favorite human better than that. She tries to convince everyone that Dolan will be back and they just have to wait and see. Christina backs her up and knows in her gut that he will return to them victorious. Unfortunately, gut feelings and blind hope are not enough to sway the vote. However, Celina reminds them that Dolan is in there fighting for their home right now. Theodora chimes in, saying that if they were to do this, then their pride as people of the forest would be lost forever. Gio and Theo also agree, saying that betraying Dolan would be as bad as destroying the forest itself. United in their faith for our hero, they decide that they will bet it all on Dolan. Back to the fight, George unleashes a furious barrage of strikes before concentrating his magic into a single powerful beam, but Dolan fends off his attack with ease before answering unkind with a blast of power so immense it can be felt all across the entire wasteland. Someone has taken notice of the dragon, and he has noticed them as well. George uses distraction to take Dolan's head, but its price is not so cheap that he would give it to the demon that easily. Dolan dodges and slices off one of the demon knight's arms. Luckily for George, he's got three more. One by one Dolan severs the others until George is literally disarmed. Tease but a flesh wound to the demon who vows to keep fighting, but this fight is already over. With one final swing, Dolan cleaves George right down the middle. The swing was so clean that George doesn't even realize that he's dead yet. He's shocked and disappointed by his defeat, but Dolan says that his vigor and determination remind him of his former god Alts. Hearing such a high honor brings a tear to the demon's eye. He tries to say more, but reality has finally caught up to him and George peels in two, finally defeated. Elsewhere, we see a pair of eyes spying on Dolan from afar. A horned demon woman has her devious gaze set on her hero, and she's delighted to know that she gets to play with him again. There was never any doubt, yet seeing Dolan walk out through the gate has Celina beside herself. She rushes over to him and he asks if she's alright, but she should be the one asking him that. With his help, the elves make sure destroy the demon gate and people of the forest begin their journey back home. The day is won and it's time to celebrate. A huge party is thrown in the hero's honor and Dolan is enjoying the festivities. That is until Theo arrives and presents him with something else to enjoy. The sight of Christina and Celina in traditional elven attire makes fighting off the forces of hell all worth it. Celina wonders what he thinks of her dress and Dolan admits that he couldn't have asked for a better reward. We are then unjustly denied more Christina's screen time as a bunch of dang kids drag her away to celebrate. Left alone, Dolan asks Celina to join him for a dance. As the two moves in sway to the serene forest gems, they discuss what happened after they parted ways. Celina admits that she almost gave up at one point, but Dolan is proud of her for facing her fears and conquering them. She thanks him for the gift he gave her, saying its presence stood more than just save her life, it made her think of him. The dragon is just grateful it helped, but Celina is trying to get at something more, but Dolan it just isn't getting. The night is young and the drinks are free, so they can talk about it later before the party ends. Cut to Celina passed out and Dolan's lap and the party coming to an end. Our hero hears singing coming from deeper in the wood, and after making sure that Celina is tucked in for the night, he goes to find its source. He discovers Christina in the trees singing a beautiful song about an old hero. Dolan asked where she learned it and Christina explains it has been passed on from one generation of her family to the next for a long time now. The lyrics caught Dolan by surprise and he wants to know if there's more to the song that he hasn't heard yet. Perhaps a part about the hero after he slays the mighty dragon. Unfortunately, Christina tells him that the song ends there, the rest he already knows from history. She asks him what he thinks about the story and he says that no matter what happened in the end, he's sure that the dragon considered his friendship with the hero to be very important. He can't explain why, it's just something he believes. The next day, our heroes prepare for the long trip back home. Olivia is there to see them off and thanks them once more for saving everybody. This makes 2 times now that Dolan has come to the rescue, and it seems to be becoming a habit, like the last time she asked if he's interested in learning at the academy, and like the last time, Dolan asked for more time to consider it, but he's definitely interested. This is a revelation that has Celina more than a little worried. Everyone's favorite goth mommy gives Dolan a gift of black rose seeds, saying he can use them in his potions. She says she also has one more gift for our hero before leaning in and planting a kiss on him. Celina can't believe that some forest bimbo got to do that before she did, but Theodora, which is thanking the man that saved her life. The journey home is a smooth one, and the tree will make it back to the village to find it just as peaceful as they left it. They go their separate ways, each ready for bed. However, as Dolan arrives at his home, he's attacked from behind. A hand punches through his back and out the front of his chest. Caught completely by surprise, bloody rubs from his mouth and Dolan falls to the ground, seemingly dead. Dolan awakens to a new day as if nothing ever happened. He cleans his face and likes what he sees and the water's reflection. He checks on his crops and also likes what he sees. Celina shows up and now he definitely likes what he sees. It seems like today is going to be a great day for our boy. Dolan begins the day by regaling a group of children with the story of the first dragon. The one that was there in the very beginning, the one all dragons could trace their origin to. Older than creation, the dragon was ancient when the gods were first born, and he watched as they began to unite and contend with one another. Seeing this, he realized his own loneliness and sought to mend his heartache. He tore his body apart, and from each piece sprang new life. From his tail was born Hyperion, the destroyer. From his wings was born Vritra, the swift. Jormungand was born from his eyes and was known as the all-seeing. From his fangs Alexander the Invincible was born, from his limbs Leviathan the Eternal, and from his head, Bahamut the Unbound. As Dolan comes to the end of his tale, he tells the kids that from the first dragon's heart and soul was born the greatest dragon of them all, the one to reign supreme over all the other dragons. That dragon is Dolan, but of course he keeps that last part of the story to himself. The kids are delighted by the tale, and each one chooses the dragon they would like to become one day. Christina, Celina, and all the girls from the forest are also in attendance, and seem to be just as taken with the story. Theodora wonders if he's always so kind to the village children, and Dolan explains that he used to make up stories with his brother when they were young, and now he enjoys telling those same stories to the children. Theo says his tale was told as if he'd seen a real dragon himself, but he doesn't know the half of it. Dolan parades his pass of 8-tier waifus through the bustling village and takes a stroll through the market. Ever since the demons were banished from the forest, things in the village have been livelier than usual. Thanks to trade coming in from their new woodland friends, Theodora says that his heroic deeds have made him the talk of the town back in Ante. Even every elven cutie is desperate to just lay eyes on the man that defeated the demons. As if summoned, some fangirls come running in asking Dolan to sign their chests. As suspected, even Christina has some fervent fans of her own, but she isn't nearly as comfortable with the limelight as Dolan is. Coming to her rescue, Theodora tells the girls that Christina's all hers, and she shushed them away. Seeing the brave knight brushing at all the attention, Theodora teases her for having such a cute side. Christina has to be rescued again, but this time by Celina. Theodora reminds the snake that the charms of a goth girl are utterly undeniable, and proves it by swaying her with just a hug. The scent of the black rose is too much to handle for poor Celina. So Dolan, who looked away for only a minute, has surprised the ladies apart before things get too wild. Stopping for a bite to eat, Celina asks if Dolan would like to join her and Balin on a hunt later. Why they would need him considering how strong she is, but that's not the point. Celina points to the jug of milk he's been chugging and says that's from Balin's wife, Miss Mew, the cow lady. That milk was the reward for the hunt, so the least he could do is join her and actually do some hunting. Dolan should have known better than to drink anything milk-related, and he finds himself roped into a date. As the sun sets, the hunt begins and Celina spots the cave of an armored bear. She wastes no time in using her magic to chase the animal from its home, and Balin charges in, killing the creature cruelly. Dolan is shocked to see this happen before his eyes and throws himself between Balin and the bear cub whose mother they just killed. He's horrified that they would so mercilessly attack a monster that has done nothing to them. Now that they've solved the problems in the forest, these animals can return to their homes and won't bother humans again if given the chance. Balin shouts at him, calling him naive. He scolds Dolan and says that wherever there lives a monster, lives a threat to all people. They have to be destroyed no matter what. Dolan is stunned as Balin and his men leave to hunt more monsters, but Celina tries to comfort him. She tells him that there's no need to overthink things. Unlike her, all monsters are just vermin to be exterminated. At this point, it has become clear that something is very wrong. Returning to the farm, Dolan notices his crops are dying. Ari arrives and asks why he's bothering with his fields, but Dolan finds it strange since he's always doing this. Ari says there's no point anymore since everyone has decided to leave the village. This is news to Dolan and he doesn't take it well. Ari tells him not to be angry, as all the villagers will simply go their separate ways and find somewhere new to live, but he knows it's not so simple. More than that, he can't believe that the old Meguru and the elders whatever agreed to tear apart the special bond the people of Verun Village have with one another. This is their home and they're all like family. How can they possibly want to leave? Dolan decides that he needs to speak with the elders and stop this madness now. That night he comes crashing into the elders' meeting and demands to know if they've all gone insane. The village chief tells him that it's already done deal, everyone has agreed to abandon the village. Dolan argues that there's no guarantee that everyone will find a place that will accept them so easily. This means that it's inevitable that the villagers will be separated from one another. He tells the council that Burn and its people are strong, and they are strongest when they're united. Unfortunately, his words fall on deaf ears. The chief outright tells him that there's no future in this place, and even he is sick of living here. Dolan is stunned and he can't believe what he's hearing. He always thought that they loved this village as much as he does. Old Meguru tells him that he would just fooling himself into believing that no one shares his affection for this village and no one cares anymore. It's time to leave and nothing he says is going to stop them. It isn't long before the people are packing up their homes and loading the wagons. Asks a couple if it's already that time, and the husband tells him that they have a new baby to think about. The sooner they leave, the better. Dolan smiles at the child and reaches out, but the mother flinches away. The couple awkwardly bid their farewell, thanking Dolan for everything he's done. It seems everyone is eager to leave, as even Balin and Miss Mew are packing up their tavern and taking off. At old Meguru's place, Dolan and Ari are helping her pack as well. The old Meguru notices an old book and reminds Dolan that it was the first he ever read. She coldly tells him that he should keep it because she has no more use of it anymore. Ari is curious what he plans to do now that he has decided to stay behind, and Dolan's response is the same as it's ever been. He just wants to protect this village. As the wagons roll off into the unknown, Dolan hears his brother's voice call out. His family has decided that they too will be leaving. They ask him to come with them, but he can't. His mother mourns the fact that she won't be able to take care of him anymore, but he says that they can still write him letters from their new home, and he'll come visit them. His mother knows better, however, and asks what will be the point. He won't actually be coming. She takes one last look at her son and hugs him. In his ear, she whispers that he's never been a normal boy, so she's sure that he'll be fine all in his own. Dolan waves goodbye to his family, who are the last to leave the village. Christina approaches with a strange expression and attitude, calling him weird for not leaving with everyone else. She even goes as far as to say that he's pathetic, which is not like her at all. As the day comes to an end, Dolan wanders the empty village, feeling empty and deserted. Every street is empty and every home abandoned. The village is quiet and he is all alone. He arrives at Celina's house that night, and she greets him with a smile. She has dinner ready and asked him if he'd like to join her. Though her cooking may not hold a candle to his own, she made this soup with the last of Miss Mew's milk. It will be the last time they can enjoy it, which is just another reminder of what he's lost. Their meal is interrupted by a bang in the distance, and to his dread, Dolan sees that his home is on fire. They discover Christina there, watching the flames engulf his house, and she has a torch in her hand. Christina grins and admits that it was her that lit the flame. It was her and everyone else from the village. Christina tells Dolan that his attachment to this place was because he had a home here. Now that his home is gone, he can finally leave. Dolan refuses to leave, saying he will never abandon this place. So Christina decides that he must still be attached, and moves to burn his fields. Dolan stops her, but he's still confused then afraid. Christina's perplexed at his reaction, as if he's the weird one. She says that if Dolan leaves the village, he won't have any of this to hold him back anymore. Dolan doesn't know what to do, so he begs Celina to help, talk some sense into the night. However, As he turns to the Lamia, he realizes that she's joined in on the madness. Celina is already packed and ready to leave. She apologizes and thanks him for everything, but it's time for her to go. This makes Dolan panic. He doesn't understand what's happening, and it's all happening too fast. Celina can't leave, not after everything they've been through. Dolan desperately tries to convince her to stay, but it's no use. Christina callously tells him to stop acting so pathetic and get the hint already they don't want to be with him anymore. She says that Dolan shouldn't be so surprised because how could they stay when he's not even human? She mocks him and reveals that everyone knows what he is. Dolan sinks into a depression, questioning the 16 years of his life as a human, while Christina's voice taunts his mind. It's all just too much, and Dolan closes his eyes to escape. When he opens them once more, he realizes that he has returned to his old form as the ancient dragon, back in his volcano lair. He begins to think that life as Dolan the simple farmer boy was all just a dream. Still, the voice taunts him, cruelly mocking his belief that anything he hoped for could have ever been real. It's as if Dolan is in a haze, unable to come to grips with reality, and sinking ever deeper into despair. It seems as though everything he once loved is lost, but a familiar voice drags him back to the surface. It's Celina, like a light in the dark to return his lost hope. The voice that has been toying with Dolan doesn't understand what the snake girl is doing there. Fortunately, Celina's words block her out. Even in his dragon form, Celina recognizes Dolan. She doesn't understand how or why she's there, but she just knows that she wanted to see him. Celina reminds the dragon of how they first met, how they worked together, and how they devised the plan to get the villagers to accept her. She wants him to remember how he protected her when she needed it and tells him to remember Christina and all their friends. She reminds him about all the adventures they went on and the people they helped. She says that if the old dragon can't remember who he is, then she will remind him. He is Dolan of Verun Village, strong and kind soul, who doesn't deserve to be alone ever again. With a big smile, Celina says that she's glad that they met, and her touching words are enough to finally free Dolan from his depression. Celina is a little embarrassed after being so bold, but the dragon is happy she was. The snake girl grows suddenly tired, finding it strange that she's dreaming and yet still feeling sleepy. Dolan comforts her by saying that when she wakes up, they will see each other again in the morning, wishing each other good night. Celina disappears and Dolan asks if the voice is going to keep hiding forever. The walls of his lair began to warp and a figure emerges, upset that the Lamia messed up her plans. Now that he is free of the illusion, Dolan recognizes who this deceiver truly is. She is the evil goddess of oblivion, and he asks his old nemesis what she wants. She reveals herself and tells the dragon that she wants one thing, to kill him all over again. Finally, free of the nightmare, Dolan is less than amused with his torture. Caravis tells him plainly that it's his fault for abandoning her in the first place. He gave up on his dragon life and allowed the hero to slay him. Dolan, the gods and everyone she'd ever known had left her behind, and now she finds the dragon here, living a serene life in his little village. The demon can't stand it and gives Dolan the cold shoulder. The dragon admits that she's right. He had given up on his dragon life, but something has changed within him. Being born a human, having been raised by loving parents, taken in by the good people of Verun, meeting Celina and Christina, all these things have made Dolan realize something very important. As a dragon, he was not satisfied or truly even alive. However, as a man, he now understands completely. Dolan promises that he will live life to the fullest as a human with the soul of a dragon, and nothing in this life for the next will stop him. Caravis is taken aback, shocked by the dragon oath and even impressed by how cool he is. However, they are still in the dream, and this is where her rule is absolute. If Dolan thinks he can just up and leave her again, he's got another thing. The world shifts and a wall of fire erupts from the earth, revealing a horrific creature under her control. Caravis introduces it as an enemy from his past, a dragon that once tormented both him and the hero. She's in the middle of explaining just how screwed Dolan is when he decides that he's had enough of this bad dream. With one move, he hits the monster and the demon girl into the sky like a clay pigeon. Clacking back his arm, he charges up and blasts the monster back to hell where it came from. Caravis is caught in the punch and comes falling back to earth. Dolan tells her that it was a mistake to show him that thing and torment him. Even for her that was too much and now she must be punished. Caravis tries to apologize, but it's too late. Dragon justice has no mercy and she is engulfed in the attack. When the smoke clears and the dust has settled, Caravis can't believe what's happening. Burned and bruised, she expected Dolan to be weak after his reincarnation, but he's as strong as ever. After having experienced such a nightmare, Dolan says it's not hard to want to kill her, but luckily for the demon he's a better man now. After all, who knows when his strength may fade and he will be forced to reincarnate again. Caravis knows this because of the curse placed on him by the evil gods. Dolan is damned to die and live again, each time losing a piece of himself, over countless lives until finally his soul gives out and he's simply no more. The demon girl seems a bit sad at the idea that even without her help Dolan will someday truly die. Dolan is surprised to see her concerned, but Caravis snaps at him, saying that she still considers him a friend. Caravis says that he must think the same as her, otherwise that last attack would have finished her off. Dolan reminds the demon that she's one of the most despicable, evil, twisted creature he has ever known. However, she doesn't look half bad, so maybe there's hope for her yet. She might be his nemesis, but perhaps they are friends after all. Caravis is happy to hear him say as much and decides it is time to skate at all. As she vanishes into the sky, she happily tells Dolan that she'll come visit him again someday. The nightmare begins to fade, and as the world goes white, Dolan opens his eyes. Back in his bed at home, alive and well. Stalker Celina has been waiting outside his window for him, and says that he's been oversleeping. Dolan apologized and says he had kind of a rough night. To confirm he's still not dreaming, he asks Celina what she would do if she ever encountered an armored bear while out on a hunt. Celina thinks about it for a moment, then breaks into his home and says that she would just carry it away. Nobody wins if they fight. She passes his test, and it looks like Dolan is not dreaming anymore. The two head over to the tavern and find that Christina is there struggling with her crippling milk addiction. Dolan interrupts her day drinking with news. He has decided that he's going to attend the Magic Academy in the city. This comes as a shock to Celina, and Christina asks him what finally changed his mind. After a few more of Miss Mew special brew, Dolan explained he had a very vivid dream last night. In it, he saw his village coming to an end and he was powerless to stop it. He doesn't want Verun Village ever become like did in his dream, and Dolan knows that as he is now, there may come a time when he won't be able to save it. It was Denzel that told him that he should get out more if he ever hoped to grow stronger. After some thinking, Dolan determined that the academy may just be the best way to attain that strength. Christina says that it's a great idea, and she will be more than happy to have him as a classmate. The two raise their mugs and toasts, but Christina's cup is empty, so she yells at Miss Mew to get back to working those udders because she needs a refill. Meanwhile, poor Celina is having a small existential crisis. The idea that Dolan is leaving the village has her positively shook. Later that day, Dolan is packed and ready to catch the next wagon out of town. He tells everyone to stop fussing. He's just off to take the entrance exam and he'll be back soon. At the academy, Dolan sits at his desk with the exam in front of him. However, like all boys his age, he's got other things on his mind, namely a scantily clad demon babe who can't get enough of him. It turns out that if he meditates, he can partially enter the demon's dream world. He asks her why she's bugging him, and she says it's because of love. The instructor interrupts Dolan's wet dream and says it must be nice being so confident that he could take a nap during the exam. Regardless, he will see Dolan tomorrow for the physical part of the test. Back in Bern, the villagers are on patrol in search of monsters. With nothing better to do, Ari and Albert Start are arguing over which of them is a more forgettable character. Dolan has to remind them both that he's been here carrying this since the very beginning. The ruckus goes completely unnoticed by a distracted Celina who starts telling behind. When Dolan tells her to catch up, she panics and fires off a snake. No one is hurt, but still the damage has been done. Celina is completely distraught over Dolan leaving, and everyone can see it. Ari explains to a confused Albert that she's obviously sad because she can't join Dolan in the city, as the Lamia people would be terrified of her, and if Dolan joins the academy, he would be gone for at least 2 years. It's obviously pretty rough on her, and Albert realizes that Celina isn't the only one upset with Dolan leaving. That night, Celina returns home and opens up her favorite book. It's thanks to Dolan that she's able to read it. Isn't long before this story begins to remind her of everything she's gone through since meeting Dolan. It's been a wild and crazy ride, ever since the Dragon Boy came into her life, but she wouldn't have it any other way. Dolan has come to mean a lot to Celina in the short time they've known each other, but it's only now that she realizes that she's done bad for the dragon. It's obvious now that he's the one for her, but his destiny has taken him down a different path and she can't follow him. It will be selfish to ask him to give up on his goal and dreams just to come back with her to the Lamia village. Grabbing her bag, Celina makes the decision to leave. It's been great hearing Verun Village, but without Dolan it just won't be the same anymore. At the academy, Denzel arrives and congratulates Dolan on getting in. He hasn't seen the results of the exam yet, but he already knows. Dolan isn't concerned about that though. He has something he needs to ask. The next morning, Dolan takes an Uber back to the village and runs over to Celina's place. The snake girl is gone and she's left him a letter. In it she explains that it's not because of him, she just has to leave. Dolan doesn't waste a moment and runs after Celina. He leaps into the air and transforms into his dragon form. Celina has slithered as far as she could from the village and decides to take a rest. She's about to pass out when something massive flies overhead. She's panicked, not sure what she just saw, when all of a sudden Dolan appears at her side. The two decide to travel together as they take a trip down memory lane. They arrive at the place they first met and reminisce over the good times. It feels like forever ago when she did that crazy little seduction dance for Dolan. They've been through a lot together and Celina thinks to herself that she's just glad for the time that they had. Dolan apologizes for making her think that he was abandoning her. The truth is that he wanted the academy to get an answer to a question he's had on his mind for a while now. He wanted to know if there was any way she could come with him, and as it turns out, there is. Celina could be accepted into the academy as well. She would just need to become his familiar. Every student is allowed one and they can't be denied. They would just need to forge a contract and nothing would stand in the way of them being together. The news is a shock, but as happy as she is, Celina is also angry. She thinks that Dolan is just throwing away his life at the academy for her sake. Regardless of a loophole in the rules, him being seen with a Lamia would completely ruin his reputation. It would destroy any chance Dolan would have of truly being a student at the academy. Dolan tells her plainly that he doesn't care what other people think. He only cares about her. Celina tries to explain how foolish that is but ends up taking a tumble into the lake. Dolan dives in after her and makes it crystal clear that there's nothing more important to him than her. As long as they are together, they're unstoppable. Dolan shouts for all the world to hear that he wants to explore this new future with her at his side. Celina finally breaks and gives in. She wants to go with him just as badly, and if he really means what he said, she's with him all the way. The next day, it's official, Dolan is now a student at the academy. Everyone in the village is ecstatic to hear the news. With that settled, our two heroes is waste no time and forging their familiar contract. Everyone is there to see them off, and the village elder tells Christina that Dolan and Celina are in her care now. Dolan's family bid him farewell and Ari tells Celina that she better not try anything with her man while they're away. As they leave the village, Dolan reminds everyone that if anything happens, he'll come running to help. He tells them to take care of each other and themselves. It's not easy leaving his home behind, but the girls are there to help soften the blow. Christina tells him that at the academy, life will be too hectic for him to be sad. Celina wonders if there will be any trouble when they arrive, but Christina assures her that if anyone tries to bully them, they'll have to answer to her. To the Lamia, this all feels like a dream. She's really often a grand adventurer with her boy toy. Dolan says that he's been thinking about one day visiting Celina's home too. He asked if she'll stick by his side until then, and Celina tells him, of course she's not going anywhere. And with that, we have come to the end of this season. Stay tuned for more amazing anime. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates.